Songs of Lawino and Songs of Ocol by Okot Bitek. Read by Richard M. Thompson, aka Eyon Dreams. Song of Lawino. 1. My husband's tongue is bitter. Husband, now you despise me. Now you treat me with spite, and say I have inherited the stupidity of my aunt. Son of the chief, now you compare me with the rubbish in the rubbish pit. You say you no longer want me because I am like the things left behind in the deserted homestead. You insult me. You laugh at me. You say, I do not know the letter A because I have not been to school and I have not been baptized. You compare me with a little dog, a puppy, my friend, age mate of my brother. Take care. Take care of your tongue. Be careful what your lips say. First, take a deep look, brother. You are now a man. You are not a dead fruit. To behave like a child does not befit you. Listen, Ocol, you are the son of a chief. Leave foolish behavior to little children. It is not right that you should be laughed at in a song. Songs about you should be songs of praise. Stop despising people as if you were a little foolish man. Stop treating me like saltless ash. Become barren of insults and stupidity. Who has ever uprooted the pumpkin? My clansmen, I cry, listen to my voice. The insults of my men are painful beyond bearing. My husband abuses me together with my parents. He says terrible things about my mother. I am so ashamed. He abuses me in English, and he is so arrogant. He says I am rubbish. He no longer wants me. In cruel jokes, he laughs at me. He says I am primitive because I cannot play the guitar. He says my eyes are dead and I cannot read. He says my ears are blocked and cannot hear a single foreign word, that I cannot count the coins. He says I am like sheep, the fool. Ocol treats me as if I am no longer a person. He says I am silly, like the oju, insects that sit on the beer pot. My husband treats me roughly. The insults. Words cut more painfully than sticks. He says my mother is a witch, that my clansmen are fools because they eat rats. He says we are all karis, or kafirs. We do not know the ways of God. We sit in deep darkness and do not know the gospel. He says my mother hides her charms in her necklace, and that we are all sorcerers. My husband's tongue is bitter like the roots of the Lawino lily. It is hot like the penis of the bee, like the sting of the kalang. Ocol's tongue is fierce, like the arrow of the scorpion, deadly like the spear of the buffalo hornet. It is ferocious like the poison of a barren woman, and corrosive like the juice of the gourd. My husband pours scorn on black people. He behaves like a hen that eats its own eggs, a hen that should be imprisoned under a basket. His eyes grow large, deep black eyes. Ocol's eyes resemble those of the Nile perch. He becomes fierce like a lioness with cubs. He begins to behave like a mad hyena. He says black people are primitive, and their ways are utterly harmful. Their dances are mortal sins. They are ignorant, poor, and diseased. Ocol says he is a modern man, a progressive and civilized man. He says he has read extensively and widely and he can no longer live with a thing like me, who cannot distinguish between good and bad. He says I am just a village woman, I am of the old type and no longer attractive. He says I am blocking his progress. My head, he says, is as big as that of an elephant, but it is only bones. There is no brain in it, he says. I am only wasting his time. 2. The woman with whom I share my husband. Ocol rejects the old type. He is in love with a modern woman. He is in love with a beautiful girl who speaks English. But only recently we would sit close together, touching each other. Only recently I would play on my bowl harp, singing praises to my beloved. Only recently he promised that he trusted me completely. I used to admire him speaking in English. Ocol is no longer in love with the old type. He is in love with a modern girl. The name of the beautiful one is Clementine. Brother, when you see Clementine, the beautiful one aspires to look like a white woman. Her lips are red hot, like glowing charcoal. She resembles the wildcat that has dipped its mouth in blood. Her mouth is like raw yaws. It looks like an open ulcer, like the mouth of a field. Tina dusts powder on her face, and it looks so pale. She resembles the wizard getting ready for the midnight dance. She dusts the ash dirt all over her face, and when little sweat begins to appear on her body, she looks like a guinea fowl. The smell of carbolic soap makes me sick, and the smell of powder provokes the ghosts in my head. It is then necessary to fetch a goat from my mother's brother. The sacrifice over the ghost dance drum must sound, the ghost be laid, and my present peace restored. I do not like the dusting myself with powder. The thing is good on pink skin because it is already pale, but when a black woman has used it, she looks as if she has dysentery. Tina looks sickly, and she is slow-moving. She is a piteous sight. Some medicine has eaten up Tina's face. The skin on her face is gone, and it is all raw and red. The face of the beautiful one is tender like the skin of a newly born baby, and she believes that this is beautiful because it resembles the face of a white woman. Her body resembles the ugly coat of the hyena. Her neck and arms have real human skins. She looks as if she has been struck by lightning or burnt like the Kangoni in a fire hunt. And her lips look like bleeding. Her hair is long, her head is huge like that of the owl. She looks like a witch, like someone who has lost her head and should be taken to the clan shrine. Her neck is rope-like, thin, long, and skinny, and her face sickly pale. Forgive me, brother. Do not think I am insulting the woman with whom I share my husband. Do not think my tongue is being sharpened by jealousy. It is the sight of Tina that provokes sympathy from my heart. I do not deny I am a little jealous. It is no good lying. We all suffer from a little jealousy. It catches you unawares, like the ghost that brings fevers. It surprises people like earth tremors. But when you see the beautiful woman with whom I share my husband, you feel a little pity for her. Her breasts are completely shriveled up. They are all folded dry skins. They have made nests of cotton wool, and she folds the bits of cowhide in the nests and calls them breasts. Oh, my clansmen, how aged modern women pretend to be young girls. They mold the tips of the cotton nests so that they are sharp, and with these they prick the chests of their men. and the men believe they are holding the waists of young girls that have just shot up. The modern types sleep with their nests tied firmly on their chests. How many kinds, how many kids has this woman sucked? The empty bags on her chests are completely flattened, dried. Perhaps she has aborted many. Perhaps she has thrown her twins in the pit latrine. Is it the vengeance ghosts of the many smashed eggs that have captured her head? How young is this age mate of my mother? The woman with whom I share my husband walks as if her shadow has been captured. You can never hear her footsteps. She looks as if she has been ill for a long time. Actually, she is starving. She does not eat. She says she fears getting fat, that the doctor has prevented her from eating. She says a beautiful woman must be slim like a white woman. And when she walks, you hear her bones rattling. Her waist resembles that of the hornet. The beautiful one is dead dry, like a stump. She is meatless, like a shell on a dry riverbed. But my husband despises me. He laughs at me. He says he is too good to be my husband. Ocol says he is not the age mate of my grandfather, to live with someone like me who has not been to school. He speaks with arrogance. Ocol is bold. He says these things in broad daylight. He says there is no difference between me and my grandmother, who covers herself with animal skins. I am not unfair to my husband. I do not complain because he wants another woman, whether she is young or aged. Who has ever prevented men from wanting women? Who has ever discovered the medicine for thirst, the medicines for hunger and anger and enmity? Who has discovered them? In the dry season the sun shines and rain falls in the wet season. Women hunt for men and men want women. When I have another woman with whom I share my husband, I am glad. A woman who is jealous of another with whom she shares a man is jealous because she is slow, lazy, and shy, because she is cold, weak, clumsy. The competition for a man's love is fought at the cooking place. When he returns from the field or from the hunt, you win him with a hot bath and sour porridge, the wife who brings her meal first, whose food is good to eat, whose dish is hot, whose face is bright, and whose heart is clean, and whose eyes are dark like the shadows. The wife who jokes freely, who eats in the open, not in the bedroom, one who is not dull like stale beer, such is the woman who becomes the headdress keeper. I do not block my husband's path from his new wife. If he likes, let him build for her an iron-roofed house on the hill. I do not complain. My grass-thatched house is enough for me. I am not angry with the woman with whom I share my husband. I do not fear to compete with her. All I ask is that my husband should stop the insults. My husband should refrain from heaping abuses on my head. He should stop being half crazy and saying terrible things about my mother. Listen, Ocol, my old friend. The ways of your ancestors are good. Their customs are solid and not hollow. They are not thin, not easily breakable. They cannot be blown away by the winds because their roots reach deep into the soil. I do not understand the ways of foreigners, but I do not despise their customs. Why should you despise yours? Listen, my husband, you are the son of a chief. The pumpkin in the old homestead must not be uprooted. 3. I do not know the dances of white people. It is true, I am ignorant of the dances of foreigners and how they dress. I do not know. Their games I cannot play. I only know the dances of our people. I cannot dance the rumba my mother taught me, the beautiful dances of Acoli. I do not know the dances of white people. I will not deceive you. I cannot dance the samba. You once saw me at the Orak dance. the dance for youth, the dance of our people. When the drums are throbbing and the black youths have raised much dust, you dance with vigor and health. You dance naughtily with pride. You danced with spirit. You compete. You insult. You provoke. You challenge all. And the eyes of the young men become red. The son of a man and the daughter of a man shine forth in the arena. Slave boys and girls dance differently from true borns. You dance with confidence and you sing provocative songs, insulting and abusive songs, songs of praise, sad songs of broken loves, songs about shortage of cattle. Most of the songs make someone angry. You do not come to the arena drunk, but when another youth hits you, you take up the challenge as a man. And when a girl knocks you, you strike back. A man's manliness is seen in the arena. No one touches another's testicles. A girl whose waist is stiff is a clumsy girl. That is, the lazy girl who fears grinding the khabir, millet. You adorn yourself in Acoli costumes. You tie la kukuku, rattles or bells on your legs. You wear bead skirts or string skirts, or a tiny piece of cloth, and a 10-string bead around your waist, bangles on your arms, and giraffe tail necklaces on your tall neck. A young man wears the odie and lakomi. He puts his lover's beads on his neck, beautiful white feathers on his head. He blows his horn, and other young men feel jealous of him. It is danced in broad daylight, in the open. You cannot hide anything. Bad stomachs have swollen up, skin diseases on the buttocks, small breasts that have emerged, and large ones full of boiling milk are clearly seen in the arena. Breasts that are tired and are about to fall, weak and bony chests of weaklings, strong lion chests, large scars on the thighs, beautiful tattoos below the belly button, tattoos that have become sores on the chest. All parts of the body are shown in the arena. Health and liveliness are shown in the arena. When the daughter of the bull enters the arena, she does not stand here like stale beer that does not sell. She jumps here, she jumps there. When you touch her, she says, "Don't touch me." The tattoos on her chest are like palm fruits. The tattoos on her back are like stars on a black sky night. Her eyes sparkle like the fireflies. Her breasts are ripe like the moon, the full moon, when the age mate of her brother sees them, when, by accident, the eyes of her lover fall on her breast. Do you think the young man sleeps? Do you know what fire eats his insides? It is true. Ocol, I cannot dance the ballroom dance. Being held so tightly, I feel ashamed. Being held so tightly in public, I cannot do it. It looks shameful to me. They come to the dance dead, drunk. They drink white men's drinks as well as warangi. They close their eyes and they do not sing as they dance. They dance silently like wizards. Each man has a woman, although she is not his wife. They dance inside a house and there is no light. Shamelessly, they hold each other tightly, tightly. They cannot breathe. Women lie on the chests of men. They prick the chests of their men with their breasts. They prick the chests of their men with the cotton nests on their chests. You kiss her on the cheek, as white people do. You kiss her open, sore lips, as white people do. You suck slimy saliva from each other's mouths, as white people do. And the lips of the men become bloody, with blood dripping from the red-hot lips. Their teeth look as if they have been boxed in the mouth. Women throw their arms around the necks of their partners and put their cheeks on the cheeks of their men. Men hold the waists of women tightly, tightly. And as they dance, knees touch knees. And when the music has stopped, men put their hands in the trouser pockets. There is no respect for relatives. Girls hold their fathers. Boys hold their sisters close. They dance even with their mothers. Modern girls are fierce, like La Beja, the jock of Laero, Alero, that captures even the heads of nephews. They coil around their nephews and lie on the chests of their uncles and prick the chests of their brothers with their breasts. And they dress up like white men, as if they are in the white man's country. And the height of the hot season, the progressive and civilized ones, and the progressive and civilized ones put on blanket suits and woolen socks from Europe, long underpants and woolen vests, white shirts. They wear dark glasses and neckties from Europe. Their waterlogged suits drip like the tears of the ketuba tree after a heavy storm. You smoke cigars like white men. Women smoke cigarettes like white women and sip some poisons from the glasses. It is hot inside the house. It is hot like inside a cave, like inside a hyena's den. And the women move like fish that have been poisoned. They stagger. They fall face upwards like fish that are dead drunk, with lugoro or obero, like small fish out of water. The smoke of the tobacco, the smoke of the cigars and the cigarettes, and the smoke of the candles used for counting the coins. The smoke in the house is like cumulus clouds, the evaporating vapor from the many drinks, the steaming sweat, the hot, wet breaths of numerous people. The coughs and saliva squirted by sneezing, drunken, sick. The many brands of winds broken, humid winds broken by men and women, producing various types of smells. The dust, the evaporating piss. The air is heavy like the hammer. The stench from the urinal is thick. It hits your nose like a blow, like a horn of a bull rhino. You choke, your throat pains sharply, you get out quick and shout a curse. You meet a big woman, she staggers towards you and leans on the wall, and before she has untied her dress, she is already pissing. She forces out the urine as if she has syphilis. The stench from the latrine knocks you down from afar. You enter it as if you have entered into a lion's mouth. The smell of the jaez and the smell of dung rise to the roof. The entire floor is covered with human dung, all the tribes of human dung, dry dungs and dysentery dungs, old dungs and fresh dungs. Young ones that are still steaming, short, thick dungs sitting like hills, snake-like dungs, coiled up like pythons. Little ones that just squatting there, big ones lying on their sides like tree trunks. Some dungs are red like okra, others are yellow like the ripe mango, like inside a ripe pawpaw. Others are black like soil, like the soil we use for smearing the floor. Some dungs are of mixed colors. Vomit and urine flow by, and on the walls they clean their anus. And there are writings on the walls, cut with knives. My husband laughs at me because I cannot dance white men's dances. He despises Acoli dances. He nurses stupid ideas that the dances of his people are sinful, that they are mortal sins. I am completely ignorant of the dances of foreigners, and I do not like it. Holding each other tightly in public. I cannot. I am ashamed. dancing without a song, dancing silently like wizards, without respect, drunk. If someone tries to force me to dance this dance, I feel like hanging myself, feet first. I wish I could become a meteorite and I would know where to fall. 4. My name blew like a horn among the pariah, the Payira. My name blew like a horn among the Payira. I was made chief of girls because I was lively, I was bright, I was not clumsy or untidy, I was not dull, I was not heavy and slow. I did not grow up a fool, I am not cold, I am not shy, my skin is smooth, it still shines smoothly in the moonlight. When Ocol was wooing me, my breasts were erect, and they shook as I walked, briskly. And as I walked, I threw my long neck this way and that way, like the flower of the Yanal's lily, waving in a gentle breeze. And my brothers called me Naya Dayang, for my breasts shook and beckoned the cattle. And they sang silently, Father, prepare the corral, Father, prepare the corral, the cattle are coming. I was the leader of the girls, and my name blew like a horn among the Bayira, and I played on my bow harp and praised my love. Oh, cool, my husband, my friend, what are you talking? You saw me when I was young, in my mother's house. This man crawled on the floor, the son of the bull wept for me with tears, like a hungry child whose mother has stayed long in the Sim field. Every night he came to my father's homestead. He never missed one night, even after he had been beaten by my brothers. You love my giraffe tail bangles. My father brought them for me from the hills in the east. The roof of my mother's house was beautifully laced with elephant grass. My father built it with the skill of the Acoli. You admired my sister's colorful 10-string iron beads. My mother threaded them and arranged them with care. You trembled when you saw the tattoos on my breasts and the tattoos below my belly button. And you were very fond of the gap in my teeth. My man, what are you talking? My clansman, I ask you, what has become of my husband? Is he suffering from boils? Is it right now? Should they open it so that the pus may flow out? I was chief of youth. Because of my good manners, because my waist was soft, I sang sweetly. When I was grinding millet or on the way to the well, nobody's voice was sweeter than mine. And in the arena, I sang solos, loud and clear, like the Ogilio bird at sunset. Now, Ocol says I am a mere dog, a puppy, a little puppy suffering from skin diseases. Ocol says he does not love me anymore because I cannot play the guitar, and I do not like their stupid dance, because I despise the songs they play at the ballroom dance, and I do not follow the steps of foreign songs on the gramophone records, and I cannot tune the radio because I do not hear Swahili or Uganda. What is all this? My husband refuses to listen to me. He refuses to give me a chance. My husband has blocked up my path completely. He has put up a roadblock, but has not told me why. He just shuts like houseflies settling on top of excrement when disturbed. My husband says he no longer wants a woman with a gap in her teeth. He is in love with a woman whose teeth fill her mouth completely, like the teeth of war captives and slaves. Like beggars, you take up white men's adornments. Like slaves or war captives, you take up white men's ways. Didn't the Acoli have adornments? Didn't black people have their ways? Like drunken men, you stagger to white men's games. You stagger to white men's amusements. Is Lawala not a game? Is Kuro not a game? Didn't your people have amusements? Like half-wits, you turn to white men's dances, you turn to musical instruments of foreigners, as if you have no dances, as if you have no instruments. And you cannot sing one song, you cannot sing a solo in the arena, you cannot beat rhythm on the half gourd or shake the rattle gourd to the rhythm of the orak dance. And there is not a single wola song that you can dance. You do not play the drum or do the mock fight at the funeral dance or at the war dance. You cannot weld the shield. And so you turn to the dances of white people, ignorant and shame-provoking, to turn to foreign things. Perhaps you are covering up your bony hips and chest, and the large scar on your thighs, and the scabies on your buttocks. You are hiding under the blanket suit, your stomach sick, that has swollen up like that of a pregnant goat, and the dark glasses shield the rotting skin around your eyes from the house flies and cover up the husks of the exploded eyeballs. 5. The graceful giraffe cannot become a monkey. My husband tells me I have no ideas of modern beauty. He says I have stuck to old-fashioned hairstyles. He says I am stupid and very backward, that my hairstyle makes him sick because I am dirty. It is true I cannot do my hair as white women do. Listen, my father comes from Paira. My mother is a woman of Kak. I am a true Acoli. I am not a half-caste. I am not a slave girl. My father was not brought home. Be the spear. My mother was not exchanged for a basket of millet. Ask me what beauty is to the Acoli, and I will tell you. I will show it to you if you give me a chance. You once saw me, you saw my hairstyle, and you admired it, and the boys loved it. At the arena, boys surrounded me and fought for me. My mother taught me Acoli hair fashions, which fits the kind of hair of the Acoli and the occasion. Listen, ostrich plumes differ from chicken feathers. A monkey's tail is different from that of the giraffe. The crocodile's skin is not like the guinea fowl's, and the hippo is naked and hairless. The hair of the Acoli is different from that of the Arabs. The Indian's hair resembles the tail of a horse. It is like sisal strings and needs to be cut with scissors. It is black and is different from that of white women. A white woman's hair is soft like silk. It is light and brownish like that of a brown monkey. It is very different from mine. A black woman's hair is thick and curly. It is true, ringworm sometimes eats up the little girl's hair, and this is terrible. But when hot porridge is put on the head, and the dance is held under the sausage fruit tree, and youths have sung, "Who is eating Duca's hair? Here is your porridge." Then the girl's hair begins to grow again, and the girl is pleased. No one, except wizards and women who poison others, leaves her hair untrimmed, and the men do not leave their chins to grow bushly, like the lion's den, like the chin of a billy goat, so that they look like wild beasts. They put hot ash on their hair below the belly button and pluck it up, and they pluck the hair on their face and the hair of their armpits. When death has occurred, women leave their hair uncombed. They remove all beads and necklaces because they are mourning, because of sorrows. The woman who adorns herself when others are wailing is the killer. She comes to the funeral to congratulate herself. When you go to dance, you adorn yourself for the dance. If your string skirt is ochre red, you do your hair with ochre, and you smear your body with red oil, and you are beautifully red all over. If you put on a black string skirt, you do your hair with akuku. Your body shines with simsim oil, and the tattoos on your chest and on your back glitter in the evening sun, and the healthy sweat on your bosom is like the glassy fruits of Okuga. Young girls whose breasts are just emerging smear shea butter on their bodies. The beautiful oil of la boire or more. The aroma is wonderful, and their white teeth sparkle as they sing and dance fast among the dancers like small fish in a shallow stream. Butter from cow's milk or the fat from edible rats is cooked together with lacura or atika. You smear it on your body today, and the aroma lasts until next day. And when you balance on your head a beautiful water pot or a new basket or a long neck jar full of honey, your long neck resembles the alwiri spear. And as you walk along the pathway, on both sides, the obia grasses are flowering and the pollock blossoms, and the wild white lilies are shouting silently to the bees and butterflies. And as the fragrance of the ripe wild berries hooks the insects and little birds, as the fishermen hook the fish and pull them up mercilessly, the young men from the surrounding villages and from across many streams, they come from beyond the hills and the wide plains. They surround you and bite off their ears like jackals. And when you go to the well or into the freshly burnt woodlands to collect the red oseyu or to cut oduhu shrubs, you find them lurking in the shades like the leopardess with cubs. Ocol tells me that I like dirt. He says shea butter causes skin diseases. He says Acoli adornments are old-fashioned and unhealthy. He says I soil his white shirt if I touch him. My husband treats me as if I am suffering from the don't touch me disease. He says that I make his bed sheets dirty and his bed smelly. Ocol says I look extremely ugly when I am fully adorned for the dance. When I walk past my husband, he hisses like a wounded Aurora snake, choking with vengeance. He has vowed that he will never touch my hands again. My husband is in love with Tina, the woman with the large head. Ocol dies for Clementine. Ocol never sleeps for the beautiful one who has red. When the beautiful one with whom I share my husband returns from cooking her hair, she resembles a chicken that has fallen into a pond. Her hair looks like a python's discarded skin. They cook their hair with hot iron and pull it hard so that it may grow long. Then they rope the hair on wooden pens like a billy goat brought for the sacrifice struggling to free itself. They fry their hair in boiling oil as if it were locusts, and the hair sizzles. It cries aloud in sharp pain as it is pulled and stretched, and the vigorous and healthy hair, curly, springy, and thick, that glistens in the sunshine, is left listless and dead, like the elephant grass scorched brown by the fierce February sun. It lies lifeless, like the sad and dying banana leaves on a hot and windless afternoon. The beautiful woman with whom I share my husband smears black shoe polish on her hair to blacken it and to make it shine. She washes her hair with black ink, but the thick undergrowth rejects the shoe polish and the ink, and it remains untouched, yellowish, grayish, like the hair of the gray monkey. There is much water in my husband's house, cold water and hot water. You twist a cross-like handle and the water gushes out, hot and steaming like the urine of the elephant. You twist another cross-like handle. It is cold water, clean like the cooling fresh waters from the streams of the Lututura hills. But the woman with whom I share my husband does not wash her head. The head of the beautiful one smells like rats that have fallen into the fireplace, and she uses powerful perfumes to overcome the strange smells as they treat a pregnant coffin. And the different smells wrestle with one another, and the smell of the shoe polish mingles with them. Clementine has many headkerchiefs, beautiful headkerchiefs of many colors. She ties one on her head, and it covers up the rot inside. She ties the knot on her forehead and arranges the edges with much care so that it covers her ears, as well as the bold forehead that jumps, sparks when lightning has splashed, and hurls back sunlight more powerfully than a mirror. Sometimes she wears the hair of some dead woman, of some white woman who died long ago, and she goes with it to the dance. What witchcraft! Shamelessly she dances, holding the shoulder of my husband, the hair of a dead woman on her head, the body of the dead woman decaying in the tomb. One night the ghost of the dead woman pulled away her hair from the head of the wizard, and the beautiful one fell down and shook with shame. She shook as if the angry ghost of the white woman had entered her head. Ocol, my friend, look at my skin. It is smooth and black, and my boyfriend who plays the nanga sings praises to it. I am proud of the hair with which I was born, and as no white woman wishes to do her hair like mine, because she is proud of the hair with which she was born. I have no wish to look like a white woman. No leopard would change into a hyena, and the crested crane would hate to be changed into the bold-headed, tongue-eating vulture. The long-necked and graceful giraffe cannot become a monkey. Let no one uproot the pumpkin. 6. The mother stone has a hollow stomach. My husband says he rejects me because I do not appreciate white men's foods, and that I do not know how to hold the spoon and fork. He is angry with me because I do not know how to cook as white women do, and I refuse to eat chicken and to drink raw eggs as white women do. He says he is ashamed of me because when he opens the tin of lobster, I feel terribly sick, or when he relates how, when he was in the white men's country, they ate frogs and shells and tortoise and snakes. My stomach rebels and throws its contents out through my mouth. He complains endlessly. He says, has I been to school, I would have learnt how to use white men's cooking stoves. I confess I do not deny. I do not know how to cook like a white woman. I cannot use the Primus stove. I do not know how to light it, and when it gets blocked, how can I prick it? The thing roars like a male lion. It frightens me. They say it once burst, and the flame burnt a goat to death. I really hate the charcoal stove. Your hand is always charcoal dirty, and anything you touch is blackened, and your fingernails resemble those of the poison woman. It is so difficult to start. You wait for the winds to blow, but whenever you are in a hurry, the winds go off to visit their mothers-in-law. The electric fire kills people. They say it is lightning. They say the white man has trapped and caught the raincock and imprisoned it in a heavy steel house. The wonders of the white man are many. They leave me speechless. They say when the raincock opens its wings, the blinding light and the deadly fire flow through the wires and lighten the streets and the houses, and the fire goes into the electric stove. If you touch it, it runs through you and cuts the heartstring as they cut the umbilical cord, and you stand there dead, a standing corpse. I am terribly afraid of the electric stove, and I do not like using it, because you stand up when you cook. Whoever cooks standing up? And the stove has many eyes. I do not know which eye to prick, so that the stove may vomit fire, and I cannot tell which eye to prick, so that fire is vomited in one and not in the other plate. I am afraid that I may touch the deadly tongue of the raincock. Oh, I do not like using the electric stove. I cannot cook anything well when you give me the raincock stove. The white men's stoves are good for cooking white men's foods, for cooking the tasteless, bloodless meat of cows that were killed many years ago and left in the ice to rot, for frying an egg, which, when ready, is slimy like mucus, for boiling hairy chicken in saltless water. You think you are chewing paper, and the bones of the leg contain only clotted blood, and when you bite, it makes no crackling sound. It tastes like earth. The white man's stoves are for boiling cabbages and for baking the light, spongy thing they call bread. They are for warming up tinned beef, tinned fish, tinned frogs, tinned snakes, tinned peas, tinned beans, big broad beans, tasteless like the coruro. They are for preparing foods for the toothless, for infants and invalids. It is for making tea or coffee. You use the saucepan and the frying pan and other flat-bottomed things because the stoves are flat, like the face of the drum. The earthen vegetable pot cannot sit on it. There are no stones on which to place the pot for making millet bread. Come, brother, come into my house. Pause a bit by the door and let me show you my mother's house. Look, straight before you is the central pole, that shiny stool. At the foot of the pole is my father's revered stool. Further on, the rows of pots. Placed on the top of one another are the stores and the cupboards, millet flour, dried carcasses of various animals, beans, peas, fish, dried cucumber. Look up to the roof. You see the hangings? The string nets are called sail. The beautiful long net jar on your left is full of honey. The earthen dish contains Simpson paste, and that grass pocket just above the fireplace contains dried white ants. Here on your left are the grinding stones, the big one, ashen and dusty, and her daughter, sitting in her belly, are the destroyers of millet, mixed with cassava and sorghum. The mother stone has a hollow stomach. A strange woman, she never gets pregnant, and her daughter never gets fatter. She gets smaller and smaller until she is finished. Do you know why the knees of millet eaters are tough? Tougher than the knees of people who drink bananas? Where do you think the stone powder from the grinding stone goes? On this stone they also grind dried beans and peas. The sister stone, the smaller one, clean and beautifully oiled, like a girl ready for the jock dance, is the Simpson grinding stone. And when my sister is grinding Simpson mixed with ground nuts, I'm grinding millet mixed with sorghum. You hear the song of the stones, you hear the song of the grains and the seeds, and above all these, the beautiful duet by Lawino and her sister. Oh, how I miss my sister, and how I miss the singing while grinding millet in my mother's house. On your left, above the grinding stones, stacked right to the roof, is the firewood. If you ask me about firewood, I can describe them to you in detail. I know their names and their leaves and seeds and barks. Oyuelo and lucoro and ketuba are no use as firewood. They burn like paper. They are like pawpaw. Their fires are cold, like the firefly's fire. Labori is alright, but it is perfectly dry. But if it's still green, the smoke it produces is like a spear. It is useful for chasing men from the hut, men who sit too close to the cooking place, their eyes fixed into the pot. Odur, who does not listen when others sing. Odur, come out from the kitchen, fire from the stove will burn your penis. Opok is easy to split with the axe. Yai burns gently. It burns like oil. Poi is no use for firewood. It is rock. It is useful only as a walking staff for the aged. On the far right is the cooking place. The fireplace in my mother's house is dug into the earth. The wife of my mother's brother has the Lango type. 3 mounds of clay shaped like youthful breasts full of milk stand together like 3 loving sisters. I do not know how to use foreign stoves. My mother taught me cooking on the Acoli stove, and when I visited my mother's brother, I cooked meals on the Lango stove. In my mother's house, there are no plates. We use the half-gourd and the earthen dishes. The white man's plates look beautiful, but you put millet bread in it and cover it up for a few minutes. The plate is sweating, and soon the bottom of the bread is wet and the whole loaf cold. A loaf in a half-gourd returns its heat and does not become wet in the bottom, and the earthen dish keeps the gravy hot and the meat steaming. And when your husband has returned from a hunt or from a long day's journey, give him hot porridge in a half-gourd. And when I have been in the garden a whole day, weeding or harvesting in the hot sun, on my return home, give me water in a large half-gourd. Water from the glass is no use. It reaches nowhere. In my mother's house, we eat sitting on the earth and not on trees like monkeys. The young men sit cross-legged, and the girl sits carefully on one leg. Father alone sits on the stool. We all sit on skins or papyrus mats on the earth. The knives in my mother's house are used for harvesting or for cutting up the meat before it is cooked, but not for cutting millet bread. We wash our hands clean and attack the loaf from all sides. You mold the spoon and dip it in the gravy and eat it up. Sorry about that. The white men's stoves are for cooking white men's foods. They are not suitable for cooking Acoli foods, and I am afraid of them. Ocol says black people's foods are primitive, but what is backward about them? He says black people's foods are dirty. He means some clumsy and dirty black women prepare food clumsily and put them in dirty containers. He insists I must eat raw eggs, smelly, slimy, yellow stuff. He says it is good for me. He says there is something in the eggs which is good for the bones. But my bones are strong. I can dance all night long, listen to the song they sang about me. The beautiful one dances all night long. Ayeka prevents me sleeping. I wait on the pathway. She refuses to come to me. The beautiful one dances all night long. What is the good thing in eggs? Can it not be found in other foods? My husband, I do not complain that you eat white men's foods. If you enjoy them, go ahead. Shall we just agree to have freedom to eat what one likes? 7. There is no fixed time for breastfeeding. My husband is angry because he says I cannot keep time, and I do not know how to count the years. He asks me how many days there are in a year and how many weeks in 4 moons, but I cannot answer the number of moons in 9 weeks. I cannot say. How can I tell? Ocol has brought home a large clock. It goes tock, 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 and it rings a bell. He winds it first, and then it goes, but I have never touched it. I am afraid of winding it. I wonder what causes the noise inside and what makes it go. On the face of the clock there are writings, and its large single testicle dangles below. It goes this way and that way like a sausage fruit in a windy storm. I do not know how to tell the time because I cannot read the figures. To me the clock is a great source of pride. It is beautiful to see, and when visitors come they are highly impressed. And Ocol has strange ways of saying what the time is in the morning. When the sun is sweet to bask in, he says, it is 8 o'clock. When the cock crows for the first time, he says, it is 5. Towards the middle of the night, when wizards are getting ready, Ocol says, it is 11. And after sunset, it is 7. My head gets puzzled. Things look upside down as if I have been turning round and round, and I am dizzy. If my husband insists what exact time he should have morning tea and breakfast, when exactly to have coffee, and the exact time for taking the family photograph, lunchtime, tea time, and supper time, I must first look at the sun. The cock must crow to remind me. In our village, when someone is going on a long journey, when there is a hunt or communal hoeing, people wake up early when the horizon in the east is aflame and in the west the buffalo star is ripe, like a yellow sweet mango about to fall to the earth. No one moves at midnight except wizards covered in ashes, dancing stark naked, armed with disemboweled frogs and dead lizards, or young thieves looking for other men's daughters. They travel fearless through the fiends that sow smallpox in the countryside. They split the darkness with their bare chests. They smell out their loves through the thick dew. When the sun has grown up and the poison tips of its arrows painfully bite the backs of men hoeing and of the women weeding or harvesting, this is when you take drinking water to the workers. Food is taken to the field when the men are exhausted. They crack the bones of chicken and eat much peas and beans and heaps of millet bread as big as elephant dung. Then they return home, leaving behind a large field and houseflies fighting over bits of food, the excreta that were thrown away. When the sun has cooled off, the men and youths visit the traps and pits. They hunt edible rats or hook fish from the streams. Others cut wooden dishes out of logs, or make ropes for the cows, or weave baskets for the chicken house. They repair the roofs of the granaries, or make patterns on half-gourds. You hear the flutes of the herdsmen bringing the cattle home. The flute song mingle with the lowing of the bulls, and man listens to the roar of his own bull, and shouts praises to it, but no one praises another's bull, not even the bull of his brother. The young boys who tend the goats take turns to make the outdoor fire. The fortunate mother of a good daughter sits outside her hut, but her back turned to the outdoor fire, her legs fully stretched, and she congratulates herself. But if your daughter has no manners, if she is so loose that men sleep with her even in the grass, then, even if you are ill, you must go to the well to draw water, and the nanga players will sing you a song. The mother of the beautiful girl dies on the way to the well, as if she has no daughter. Her daughter has no manners. What is it to be done? The mother of the girl dies on the grinding stone, in the bush to collect firewood. At the Orak dance, a good girl whose mother is blind dances vigorously and glances at the sun. She returns home before sunset. A good daughter releases her mother. She sits around the evening fire and tells folks' tales to her younger ones. My husband says I am useless because I waste time. He quarrels because he says I am never punctual. He says he has no time to waste. He tells me time is money. Ocol does not chat with me. He never jokes with anybody. He says he has no time to sit around the evening fire. When my husband is reading a new book, or when he is sitting in his sofa, his face covered up completely with the big newspaper, so that he looks like a corpse, like a lone corpse in the tomb. He is so silent, his mouth begins to decay. If a child cries or has a cough, Ocol storms like a buffalo. He throws things at the child. He says he does not want to hear noises, that children's cries and coughs disturb him. Is this not the talk of a witch? What music is sweeter than the cries of children? A homestead in which the cries of children are not heard. where the short little songs are not repeated endlessly, where the brief sobs and brotherly accusations and false denials are not heard. A homestead where children's excreta is not scattered all over the sweat compound and around the granaries, where all the pots and earthen dishes are safe because there are no silly ones to break them, no clumsy hands trying hard to please mother and breaking half gourds. Who but a witch would like to live in a homestead where all the grown-ups are so clean after the rains because there are no muddy fat kids to fall on their bosoms after dancing in the rain and playing in the mud? At the lingerie shrine, the prayers are for childbirth. At the lineage shrine, the prayers are for childbirth. The way it's printed here looks offset. I have to make a correction there because the word lingerie kind of looks like lineage here as it's typed. Anyway, at the lineage shrine, the prayers are for childbirth. At the Ogodo dance, the woman who struts and dances proudly, that is the mother of many. That is the fortunate one, and she dances and looks at her own shadow. Time has come. My husband's master, it is my husband's husband. My husband runs from place to place like a small boy. Time has become my husband's master. It is my husband's husband. My husband runs from place to place like a small boy. He rushes without dignity. And when visitors have arrived, my husband's face darkens. He never asks you in, and for greeting, he says, "What can I do for you?" I do not know how to keep the white man's time. My mother taught me the way of the Acoli, and nobody should shout at me because I know the customs of our people. When the baby cries, let him suck milk from the breast. There is no fixed time for breastfeeding. When the baby cries, it may be he is ill, for the medicine for a child is the breast. Give him milk and he will stop crying. And if he is ill, let him suck the breast while the medicine man is being called from the beer party. Children in our homestead do not sleep at fixed times. When sleep comes into their heads, they sleep. When sleep leaves their heads, they wake up. When a child is dirty, give him a wash. You do not need first to look at the sun. When there is no water in the house, you cannot wash the child, even if it is time for his bath. Listen, my husband, in the wisdom of the Acoli, time is not stupidly split up into seconds and minutes. It does not flow like beer in a pot that is sucked until it is finished. It does not resemble a loaf of millet bread surrounded by hungry youths from a hunt. It does not get finished like vegetables in a dish. A lazy youth is rebuked, a lazy girl is slapped, a lazy wife is beaten, a lazy man is laughed at. Not because they waste time, but because they only destroy and do not produce. And when famine invades your villages and women take their baskets to go and beg for food in the next village, strangers will sleep with them. They will have your wives, and what can you say? Ocol laughs at me because he says, I do not know the names of the moons, that I do not know how many moons in a year and the number of Sabbaths in one moon. The Sabbath is a day for Christians when Protestants and Catholics shout and suffer from headaches. The Acoli did not set aside a special day for joke. When misfortune hits the homestead, the clansmen gather and offer sacrifices to the ancestors. When the rains refuse to come, the raincock prepares a feast. A goat is speared in the wilderness, and the elders offer prayers to Junk. We all know the moon. It elopes, climbs the hill, and falls down. It lights up the night. Youths like it, wizards hate it, and hyenas howl when the moon shines into their eyes. Periodically, each woman sees the moon, and when a young girl has seen it for the first time, it is a sign that the garden is ready for sowing. And when the gardener comes carrying 2 bags of live seeds and a good strong hoe, the rich red soil swells with a new life. Turning your back to your husband is a serious taboo. But when the baby is still toothless, fraud. When you see the moon, you turn your back to your husband. If you do not resist the great appetite, then your child becomes sickly and thin. His knees become soft like porridge. He will become pregnant, and the weight of his diseased stomach will prevent him from standing up. I do not know the names of the moons because the Acoli people do not name their moons. During the Asia period, millet is sown just before the rains, and as they sow, they raise much dust. When the rains return, we say, the rains have fallen. The period is called Poto. Then the millet seeds germinate. Sometimes the rains come early, sometimes they return late. When the millet begins to flower and the time for the harvest is approaching, all the granaries are empty, and hunger begins to bite people's tummies. This period is called Odonge, because fierce hunger burns people's insides, and they drink vegetable soups to deaden their teeth of the fire. And as the millet begins to get ready for the harvest, some women ask, "Is this not my own garden?" They take their harvest knives and a small basket. They cut one head here and another one there. And when someone laughs, they ask, "Whose garden have I spoiled?" So the period just before the harvest is called Abalo Nga. The Colino, the wet season and the dry season. Wet season means hard work in the fields, sowing, weeding, harvesting. It means waking up before dawn. It means mud and thick dew. Herd boys dislike it. Herd boys dislike it. Lazy people hate it. Dry season means pleasures. It means dancing. It means hunting in freshly burnt plains. You hear Otole, dance drums, and funeral songs. You hear the horns and trumpets and the moonlight dance songs floating in the air. Youth in small groups go on the Apet hunting expeditions. Great hunters stay alone in the wilderness, smoking the carcass of the cob or the buffalo. Others go off to Pajule to look for bride wealth. For if you have no sister, then kill an elephant. You sell the teeth and marry a wife. Then you call your son Okan because you are poor. Dry season means wooing and eloping with girls. It means the Moko dance, when youths and girls get stuck to one another. My husband says my head is numb and empty because, he says, I cannot tell when our children were born. I know that Okang, my firstborn, was born at the beginning of the dry season, and my little girl in the middle of the rains. Okang was born in the middle of the famine called Obongo Wang Dako. They say one night a man was so hungry he got up and felt his wife's eyes to see if she was asleep so that he might inspect the cooking pots. And Atu was born. After the smallpox fiends had just left the homestead, the fiends found many people with bad hearts. There was much quarreling and jealousy among women, and so many people perished. I lost my father too. That is why the little girl was called Atu. A person's age is seen by looking at him or her. A girl is grown up when her breasts have come. A young man's voice breaks and hair appears on his face and below his belly button. When a girl sees the moon, she is ripe. After bearing 3 children, she begins to wither, and soon she becomes a mother-in-law. Then she is deeply respected. A person's age is shown by what he or she does. It depends on what he or she is, and on what kind of person he or she is. You may be a giant of a man. You may begin to grow gray hair. You may be bald and toothless with age. But if you are unmarried, you are nothing. Ocol tells me things I cannot understand. He talks about certain man, Jesus, he says. The man was born long ago in the country of white men. He says when Jesus was born, white men began to count years from 1, then it became 10, then 100, then 1,000, and now it is 1,966. My husband says before this man was born, white men counted years backwards, starting with the biggest number. Then it became 1,000, then 100, then 10, and when it became 1, then Jesus was born. I cannot understand all of this. I do not understand it at all. 8. I am ignorant of the good word in the clean book. My husband looks down upon me. He says, I am a mere pagan. I do not know the way of God, he says. I am ignorant of the good word in the clean book, and I do not have a Christian name. Ocol dislikes me because, he says, joke is in my head, and I like visiting the diviner priests like my mother. He says he is ashamed of me because when the joke in my head has been provoked, it throws me down as if I have fits. Ocol laughs at me because I cannot cross myself properly. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the clean ghost. And I do not understand the confession, and I fear the bushy-faced, fat-bellied padre before whom people kneel when they pray. I refuse to join the Protestant catechist class because I did not want to become a house girl. I did not want to become a slave to a woman with whom I may share a man. Oh, how young girls labor to buy a name. You break your back drawing water for the wives of the teachers. The skin on your hand hardens and peels off, grinding millet and Simpson. You hoe their fields, split firewood, you cut grass for thatching. And for starting fires, you smear their floors with cow dung and black soil and harvest their crops. And when they are eating, they send you to play games, to play the board game under the mango tree. And girls gather wild sweet potatoes and eat them raw, as if there is a famine, and they are so thin they look like cattle that have dysentery. You work as if you are a newly eloped girl. The wives of Protestant church teachers and priests are a happy lot. They sit with their legs stretched out and bask in the morning sun. All they know is hatching a lot of children. My elder sister was Christian Irina. She was a Protestant, but she suffered bitterly in order to buy the name, and her loin beads no longer fitted her. One Sunday I followed her into the Protestant church. A big man stood before the people. His hand was lifted up. My sister said he was blessing the people. The man had no rosary. He wore a long black gown and a wide white robe. He held a little shiny saucer. It had small pieces of something. The name of the man was Alaya, and he was calling people to come and eat human flesh. He put little bits in their hands and they ate it up. Then he took a cup. He said there was human blood in the cup, and he gave it to the people to drink. I ran out of the church. It was very sick. Oh, Protestants eat people. They are all wizards. They exhume corpses for dinner. I once joined the Catholic evening speakers class, but I did not stay long. I ran away from shouting meaninglessly in the evenings, like parrots, like the crowbirds. Maria, the Queen Woman, mother of the hunchback, pray for us who spoil things full of gracia. The things they shout, I do not understand. They shout anyhow. They shout like mad people. The padre shouts words you cannot understand, and he does not seem to care in the least whether his hearers understand him or not. A strange language they speak, these Christian diviner priests, and the white nuns think. The girls understand what they are saying and are annoyed when the girls laugh. One night, the moon was very bright, and in the distance, the Get Stuck dance drums were throbbing vigorously. The teacher was very drunk. His eyes were like rotting tomatoes. We guessed he was teaching something about the Klingos. He shouted words at us, and we shouted back at him, agitated and angry like the Akwik birds chasing away the kite from their nest. He shouted angrily as if he uttered abuses. We repeated the same words, shouting back at him, as when you shout insults at somebody's mother. We repeated the meaningless phrases, like the yellow birds in the Lajanawara grass. The teacher was an Acoli, but he spoke the same language as the white priests. His nose was blocked, and he tried to force his words through his blocked nose. He sounded like a loosely strung drum. The teacher's name was Vincenzo Lacucu. He was very drunk, and he smiled, bemused. The drums of the Get Stuck dance thundered in the distance, and the songs came floating in the air. The milk in our right breasts boiled, and little drops of sweat appeared on our foreheads. You think of the pleasures of the girls dancing before their lovers. Then you look at the teacher, barking meaninglessly like a yellow monkey. In the arena, you begin to sing my song. We could hear it faintly passing through the air like the thin smoke from an old man's pipe. Oh, Lawino, come let me see you, daughter of Lengamoy, who has just shot up. Young woman, come home. Oh, Lawino, chief of the girls, my love, come, and I may elope with you. Daughter of the bull, come that I may touch you. The teacher drummed his meaningless phrases through his blocked nose. He was getting more drunk. Thick white froth formed around his mouth as if he had just fallen down with fits. Pray for us who spoil things full of gracia. And when he shouted the word gracia, whatever the word meant, saliva squirted from his mouth and froth flew like white ants from his mouth. The smelly drops landed on our faces like heavily loaded houseflies, fresh from a fresh excreta heap. And when he belched, the smell of the rotting beer hit you like a brick. And when he belched, his mouth filled with hot beer from his belly. And he noisily swallowed his back. Let me read that again. And when he belched, the smell of the rotting beer hit you like a brick. And when he belched, his mouth filled with hot beer from his belly, and he noisily swallowed this back. The collar of the teacher's white shirt was black with dirt. He was sweating profusely, and his cheeks were rough, like the tongue of the ox. The comb never touched his head. His hair resembled the elephant grass, tall and wiry. The teacher looked like a witch. He endlessly drummed his meaningless words through his blocked nose, and we shouted the words back at him, and the moonlight dance drums thundered in the distance, and the songs came floating from beyond the hills. My comrades are dancing in the moonlight, and I sitting before the ugly man, before the man with rough skin, the man whose body smells. The girls are dancing before their lovers, shaking their waists to the rhythm of the drums, and I sitting like stale bread on the rubbish heap. My companions are gay. They are dancing and singing meaningful songs in the arena. They are singing my song, and the boys are whispering sweet words into the girls' ears, and our teacher is drunk. Anger welled up inside me, burning my chest like bile. I stood up, then two other girls stood up. We walked out of that cold hall with the stone floor. We ran fast, away from the ugly man, away from the meaningless shouts, like parrots, like yellow birds in the Lajanawara grass. We crossed the stream and climbed the gentle rise straight into the arena. We joined the line of friends and danced among our age mates, and sang songs we understood, relevant and meaningful songs about ourselves. O Father, gather the bride wealth, that I may bring a woman home. O, the woman of my bosom, the beautiful one, prevents me from sleeping. The woman of my bosom. If anyone troubles my beloved, I shall shed tears of blood. The woman of my bosom prevents me from sleeping. O Father, if I die, I will become a vengeance ghost. The woman of my bosom prevents me from sleeping. We danced with vigor, and sweat poured down our backs, youthful sweat from healthy bodies. Let the fool continue to deceive himself. Who has ever prevented the cattle from the salt lick? The time when youth should meet youth is wasted in shouting things no one understands, is spent in singing meaningless songs that no one believes in. The milk in your breasts boils painfully. Your breasts must be touched, rubbed on the cool chest of your beloved, so that the pricking pains may be relieved. The heads of the young men reject the pillows and prefer the arms of their lovers, but they lock you up inside a cold hall as if you are sheep, and they lock up all the girls in one cold hall and the boys in another cold hall, and the young men sleep alone, cold like knives without handles, and the spears of the lone hunters, the trusted right-hand spears of the young bulls, rust in the dewy cold of the night. But look, who comes with the large-headed club? The teacher, still drunk. He too is coming to hunt for girls at the get-stuck dance. He joined the line of youths, but they pushed him away. He danced at the edge, singing properly, his large owl head moving this way and that way to the rhythm of the drums. Shameless, the ugly man whispered something in my ear and touched my breast with the rough palm of his bony hand, cutting it as if with an old rusty knife. I spat in his face. He said he would dismiss me from the evening speakers class if I am so stupid. I will never get anything from the purse in his trouser pocket. Don't touch me, you rough-skinned aged thing. Who cares for your stupid shoutings in the evening? Let go of my hand, syphilis man. Who can you buy to spread your death? And all the teachers are alike. They have sharp eyes for girls' full breasts. Even the padres who are not allowed to marry are troubled by health. Even the fat-stomached who cannot see his belly button feels better when he touches a girl's breasts. And those who listen to the confessions peep through the porthole and stab the breast with their glances. My husband rejects me because he says I have no Christian name. He says Lawino is not enough. He says Acoli names are joke names and they do not sound good. They are primitive, he insists, and he is a progressive man. Ocol wanted me to be baptized Benedetta. He has christened one daughter Marta. The other took the name of the mother of the hunchback. Maria, the clean woman, mother of the hunchback. His firstborn son is Jacon, and the second he calls Parakiko. One of his illegitimate sons is Tamkan, and the other is Guglielmo Enrico. My husband rejects Acoli names, meaningful names, names I can pronounce. He says they are joke names, and he was nothing to do with joke. He says he has left behind all sinful things and all superstitions and fears. He says he has no wish to be associated any more with the devil. Pagan names, he says, belong to sinners who will burn in everlasting fires. Ocol insists he must be called by his Christian name. But my husband's name is so difficult to pronounce. It sounds something like Mediki jediki gildi rigololoyo. It sounds to me like give the people more vegetables, foxes make holes in the pathway. It sounds like a praise name uttered by a stammerer. What is the meaning of Marta, Guglielmo, Enrico, Jacan? Are these names of ancestors? My bull name is Elia Elecaria. I ate the name of the chief of Paria, Paira, Aliyah Alikir, son of Awik. Bull names are given to chiefs of girls because, like bulls, they lead their age mates. Like the full moon at night, they dominate the stars. They are names of great chiefs and great men of war. Is Benedetta a bull name? Is Maria a bull name? In the white man's country, Apillo and Asen are joke names. Twins are jokes and are deeply respected. Akelo is the one who comes after twins. Joke and Ajara grow extra fingers or toes. Adak comes out of the belly feet first. All these are joke, and they are feared and respected. When a girl is called Adong, her father died just before she was born. Okot does not mean born in the rains, but after birth contain bubbles of water. And this is a sign of rain. The daughter of a woman with a black heart who kills people with poisons is called Akuya and Anek. Some names are names of sorrows, Alobo, Abor, Ayiko, Woko, that fate has thrown a large basket to be filled with dead children. Fate has brought troubles, son of my mother. Fate has thrown me a basket. It all began as a joke. Suffering is painful. It began before I was born. My father's name is Otto Lenga Moy. He ate the title Lenga Moy in the battle in the hills. Ocol's grandfather's title is Litany Moy. You earn the Moy with your spear or gun or sword. Is Tom Khan a joke name? Parakiko, is it a battle honor? Vicenicio and Irico, are these praise names that white men shout when they dance their get stuck dance? Or are they mourning names? The firstborn may have a name, but he is also always called Okang. He is the first to listen to the songs of the birds. He is proof that the woman is not barren. He is the owner of the shrine that shall be built. In honor of his father, he is respected. The one who follows Okang is called Oboy. He is always jealous. He fights with his brother and fights for his brother. The third son is called Odai, and the last son is Kogo. If you hit his head with your finger, his mother will throw things at you, because that is the child of which a mother is most fond. Who understands the meaning of the Christian names, the names they read for the names of white men that they give to children when they put water on their heads? What do they mean? To me, they all sound like empty tins, old rusty tins thrown down from the rooftop. 9. From the mouth of which river? When I was in the evening class, we recited the faith of the messengers. And our Father who is in Skyland, we sang greetings to Maria. We learned, glory shine on the body of the Father, and on the body of the Son, and on the body of the clean Ghost. We recited the prayer for saying yes, and the prayer for love, the prayer for trust, the greetings of the beautiful men with birds' wings, and the Decalogue, the 10 instructions of the hunchback, but our teachers hated questions. Protestant and Catholic priests all are all the same. They do not like questions. When they mount the rostrum to preach, they shout and shout, and most of what they say I do not follow. But as soon as they stop shouting, they run away fast. They never stop a little while to answer even one question. Immediately they start collecting the gifts. You hear, who sows a little will reap a little. Who sows much will reap much. It is not by force. The hunchback thanks those who give with soft hearts. Do they buy the places in Skyland with money? The stools on the right hand of the hunchback, are these reserved for money fellows? Fat-bellied men, the backs of whose necks resemble the buttocks of the hippo, and green oils ooze out of the lined nets. Those who will surround the hunchback, will they be the three-chinned ones who are not used to the heat and should not go to the place below because it does not befit them, and it is too warm for them? The teachers of the evening speakers class hate questions. If you go to the padre, you provoke a fight. You take the road and go to the nun. The young woman is fierce like a wounded buffalo girl. She screams as if someone has stabbed her at the death spot. And the black teachers are angry. They say asking too many questions befits only Martin Luther and a stupid, stubborn Protestant. They say asking a lot of silly questions cannot be tolerated, and the padre quarrels and his goatee beard shakes furiously. We sang the faith of the messengers like parrots. I did not understand it at all. I thought about it in my head only, but I could get nowhere, and there was nobody to turn to. The padre and the nun are the same. They only quarrel. They are angry with me, as if it was I who prevented them marrying. To them, the good children are those who ask no questions, who accept everything, like the tomb, which does not reject even a dead leper, who accepts everything, like the rubbish pit, like the pit latrine, which does not reject even the dysentery. And those good children who ask no questions are liked. They are given oranges and guavas and bananas. They take a ride in the padre's car. The nun pats them on their backs and says, "My son, you are good." We recited the faith of the messengers like the yellowbirds in the La Janawara grass. The teacher shouted as if half mad, and we shouted back. I accept the hunchback, the padre who is very strong, molder of skyland and earth. My mother was a well-known potter. She molded large pots, vegetable pots, and beautiful long neck pots. She made water pots and smoking pipes and vegetable dishes and large earthen vessels for a bath. She dug the clay from the mouth of the Oyitino River. The place was well known among potters. I heard about it when I was a small girl, and when my breasts emerged, I went with my mother and helped her carry the clay. The hunchback, where did he dig the clay? For molding things. Where is the pot? He dug the clay for molding skyland and the clay for molding earth. For the mouth of which river? When my mother has brought the clay from the river, she leaves it to season overnight. The next day she beats it with wooden hammer, and then she molds the pots and dishes, and none of her works crack when fired. When skyland was not yet there, and earth was not yet molded, nor the stars, nor the earth, when there was nothing, where did the hunchback live? Where did the hunchback dig the clay for molding things? The clay for molding skyland, the clay for molding earth, the clay for molding moon, the clay for molding the stars. Where is the spot where it was dug? On the mouth of which river? And when the hunchback was digging the clay, where did he stand? And when he brought home the clay for molding things, where did he put the clay to season overnight? And when he was beating it with the wooden hammer, on which rock did the hunchback put the clay? My husband has read at Makerere University. He has read deeply and widely, but if you ask him a question, he says you are insulting him. He opens up with a quarrel. He begins to look down upon you, saying you ask questions that are a waste of time. He says, my questions are silly questions, typical questions from village girls, questions of uneducated people, useless questions from untutored minds. My husband says I have a tiny little brain and it is not trained. I cannot see things intelligently. I cannot see things sharply. He says even if he is tired to answer my questions, I will not understand. Even if he is tried to understand my questions, I would not understand what he is saying because the language he speaks is different from mine, so that even if he spoke to me in Acoli, I would still need an interpreter. My husband says some of the answers cannot be given in Acoli, which is a primitive language and is not rich enough to express his deep wisdom. He says the Acoli language has very few words. It is not like the white man's language, which is rich and very beautiful, a language fitted for discussing deep thoughts. Ocol says he has no time to waste discussing things with a thing like me, who has not been to school. He says a university man can only have useful talk with another university man or woman, and that it is funny that he should stoop so low to even listen to my questions. And when he says these things to me, he does not look me in the face. He turns his back and talks casually while doing some other work. And when the padre hears these questions, he threatens you with his beard. When a nun hears the question, she says, you should repeat the prayers for faith. I think about these questions in my head, and my head begins to ache, and my neck begins to pain. But who can I ask? Where can I go? I am not a shy woman. I am not afraid of anybody. I am not easily browbeaten. I know that the person who asks has done no wrong. I will not be frightened by those who say asking questions is mortal sin. That will take a person to the place below. But I swallowed the questions. They burn inside me like a bee that has gone into the ear, and my eyes redden with frustration and tremble with anger. When the hunchback was not yet there before he had molded himself, what things were there? When Skyland was not there yet molded, and there was no earth, no stars, no moon, when Chief Hunchback was not yet there before he had molded himself, where did he get the clay for molding things? The clay for molding himself. Where did he get it? From the mouth of which river? When the hunchback was not yet there, and his head was not yet molded, and his eyes, his hands, legs, when his heart was not yet there, how did he find the clay for molding things before he had any eyes? The clay for molding the hunchback, where was it dug from? From the mouth of which river? How did a hunchback dig the clay for molding things before his hands were molded? The wooden digging stick for digging the clay, the wooden hammer for beating the clay, for molding himself. How did he hold the wooden hammer and the digging stick? Whose hands did he borrow? And when he was digging the clay for molding himself, whose legs did he use for standing up? Where did Chief Hunchback get his head for thinking about molding himself? For beginning to think about molding himself, and what shape and size should he be? Where did the hunchback find the hands for molding himself? Where did he find them? How did he mold his hands before he had any hands? On the way to the well to draw water in the bush, collecting dry firewood, I think about these questions. When I am grinding millet ore on the rocks, drying the cassava mash, on the way to the garden early in the morning, through the thick dew in the night, I cannot sleep, but my head just stops like a broken down car. And the questions are numerous like grass. If you begin to ask them, they flow endlessly like the Nile waters. They burn endlessly like the red fire at the altar. You wish there was no other work, so that you may sit for as long as you like, and you wish you were lucky to find someone to help you, someone who has genuinely read deeply and widely, and not someone like my husband whose preoccupation is to boast in the marketplace, showing off to people. You wish you were lucky to find someone to assist you who does not shout like houseflies when disturbed from an extra heap, who does not shout meaninglessly like the padre, who listens and does not get annoyed so easily like the nun, who does not boast like the teachers of the evening speakers class. You consider the birth of Christ, they say. His mother did not know a man. They also say the bride wealth had already been paid. Among our people, when a girl has accepted a man's proposal, she gives a token, and when she visits him in his bachelor's hut to try his manhood, before the bride wealth is paid, the man puts his cheeks on the girl's bosom, and if the girl is lucky, she gets a stomach. And when they teach that the mother of Christ did not know a man, I did not and cannot understand it. But the teachers of religion hate questions. A young tree that is bending, they do not like to straighten. Whether they do it purposefully, whether they themselves have no answers, I do not know. But I know they hate questions. 10. The last safari to Pagak. My husband quarrels bitterly. He says, I do not know hygiene, and I do not know how to look after the sick. He says, I do not know the use of quinine, and I have not been taught how to prevent diseases. My husband is ashamed of me because my father was a well-known divine or priest. He says he is sick of my superstitions and fears. And he fears what the neighbors say because my mother brought some powerful anti-poison medicine to counter the deadly poisons of the childless women in our homestead. Some had brought agugu, others brought adraka, with which to kill all the children. My husband complains that I encourage visitors who should not come into his house because they bring dirt and houseflies. He says my old relatives smell horribly, and they have terrible diseases, leprosy and tuberculosis, and their bodies itch. He says these diseases will be transmitted to the children. He has warned me that my father's sister has lice in her hair and jiggers in her feet. She should not visit me. My husband says these things in broad daylight, and he speaks aloud. He does not care whether my relatives hear him or not, and when a storm is threatening, he says there are no beds in his house for villagers. My husband says villagers soil his chairs and bed sheets. He says they ruin his nicely polished floor with the mud in their feet. He cares little about his relatives either. Of his own mother, Acoli says she smokes some nauseating tobacco and spits all over the place, and she keeps bed bugs in her loincloth. And when his mother comes to visit me, Ocol locks the doors and says he has an important meeting in town. My husband complains about food. You would think he earns sand, and he told his mother's brother there was no food because he had not written a letter. The son of the bull does not allow the children to visit my mother. He says he does not like the feeding of grandmothers because the children eat all the time. Ocol says the way his mother brings up children only leads to ignorance, poverty, and disease. He swears he has no confidence in the wisdom of the Acoli. My husband despises me because I fear the kite with the flame and in its anus. My husband despises me because I fear the kite with the flame in its anus. He says no such things exist. It is my eyes that are sick, and only foolish superstitions make me see these things. But my husband believes some people see the beautiful man with the wings of vultures flying through the air. My husband has threatened to beat me if I visit the diviner priest again. He says the hair poison does not exist, that it is hookworm that troubles the people. Ocol condemns diviner priests, and Ocol and Acoli herbalists. He says they are all liars who deceive fools and robs people's chickens, goats, sheep, cattle, and money. Their so-called medicines are dirty mixtures of all sorts of things collected from the bush and mixed in beer. He says the medicine gourds are filthy and the herbs are drunk from unhygienic cups. My husband agrees that sometimes by accident some of the herbs are effective. He also admits that not all who enter the white man's hospital walk home on their feet, but are carried away in comfortable beds, painless, free of troubles, no more bothered by hunger or anger or the complaints of wives. When the fiends that bring smallpox visit the homestead, Ocol does not go to the shrine of the ancestors. He says it is foolish to do so. We should have our arms scratched and some corrosive poisons put in the wounds. He says when we suffer misfortune, we should say, "Look, Maria, mother of the hunchback." We should pray to Joseph and Petero and Luca and the other ancestors of white men. He says it is stupid superstition to pray to our ancestors to avert the smallpox, but we should pray to the messengers of the hunchback to intercede for us. My husband wears a small crucifix on his neck, and all his daughters wear rosaries, but he prohibits me from wearing the elephant tail necklace. He once beat me for wearing the toe of the edible rat, and the horn of the rhinoceros, and the jawbone of the alligator. A large snake once fell down from the roof of the coal hall. The nun who was teaching the evening speakers class grabbed her large crucifix and pressed it on her bosom, closed her eyes, and said something we could not understand. My husband says the cowrie shells and the colobus monkey hair, the dog's horn, charms, and all useless things. He says only foolish backward folk, uneducated simple fellows who live in the shadow of fear carry these things. And when a bull disease has knocked me down, or when the ghost in my head is provoked and threatens to cause ill health, when a child has been cursed by his uncle, or when the evil eye has attacked my daughter, my husband does not allow me to visit the diviner priest. The goat cannot be sacrificed, and no joke dances can be danced. And when it is joke omara that has caused madness, or dude, or ayewewa, that has brought troubles, when joke robanga has broken someone's back, or joke or dude has tied up a woman's womb, and the husband cries over his lost bride wealth, saying, "What is marriage without childbirth?" Ocol laughs. Ocol says, "The ways of fools are dark, and they are foolish beyond compare." My husband once smashed up the rattle gourd, cut open the drum, and chased away the diviner priest from his late father's homestead. The old man walked away, his headgear waving, his ankle bells jangling rhythmically, and the large monkey skin bag dangling on his neck. People whistled in amazement. They asked, "What ghost has captured the head of Ocol?" My husband took an axe and threatened to cut the okango that grew on his father's shrine. His mother fell down under the tree. She said, "Cut me first, then cut the sacred tree." He threw down the axe and went to the church. He knelt before the stone picture of Joseph and mumbled things I could not understand. I do not know the white man's names of diseases. I do not know the names of their medicines. I cannot measure the heat of the body with the white man's glass rod because my hand trembles and I cannot read it. When my child is unwell, I see it from his watering nose. The hair of his body stands up and his lips are parched. I see that he is not bright. I do not read the names of diseases from books. I hear him cry and his eyes water. I hear the noise from his stomach, the worms complaining. He is pale as if he has been playing in ashes. You hear his chest crackling. He has no appetite and he is aggressive but tired and weak. He is troublesome. He wants this thing and that thing. Then he does not want this thing and does not want that thing. His body feels hot like fire and he sits by the fire in the middle of a hot afternoon. When my child is ill, I try the various Acoli herbs. I try the medicines my mother showed me. The roots of Bomo for stomach aches. It kills poisons as well as worms. The roots of Omwombai is chewed for bad throats. A drop in the eye kills the pains and removes the evil eye sting. When the eyes are bursting with pain, put some ekeyo in a pot. Cook it for some time. Then expose the eyes to the steam from the pot. This burns up the spears that were in the eyes. The shoots of la pena for coughs and sore throats. You put some salt in it and chew it. The shoots of la pena and olim are chewed when they have removed the blockage in the throat. Fresh wounds are treated with ogali or pobo. The sticky juices gum up the broken skins and the bitter poison keeps the houseflies at bay. My mother showed me many medicines for leprosy and yaws, for different childbirth and barrenness, for men whose spears refuse to stand up, lazy spears that sleep on their bellies like earthworms, medicines for snake bites, medicines for breasts that dry up too soon, milkless breasts full of fiber like the fruit of barusus, palm. If my child is ill, I try the various medicines that my mother showed me. If all these fail, I go to the medicine woman. And when the child has improved, I take a chicken to the herbalist or a goat or ram. When fevers trouble my child frequently, when all the diseases have fallen in love with him, and all youthful diseases run after him, and as if he was a beautiful girl, so that he has coughs and dysentery, and throat trouble and eye sickness, and his ears have pus, and his legs have ulcers, and he is bony, skinny, and his loin string is loose. I know that this is not for nothing. I know that someone is behind it. I know someone has hidden the child's excreta in a tree fork, or has buried his hair or nail parings in a riverbed. I know that some jealous woman, perhaps even a close relative, has visited the shadow trapper who has captured the child's shadow. When your child is weak and listless, when his energy fails him, when he withdraws from the fight for life and gives up quickly, it means his head has been captured, and he is only a crawling corpse. A diviner priest must be called. He will divine and tell the killer the jealous one will be found out. 10 beautiful girls are walking in single file along the pathway. They carry axes. They are going to the bush to split firewood. In the grass lurks the black mamba, its throat burning with venom. The first 3 girls walk past, then the 4th and 5th, and all 9 girls go by, and your daughter, who is at the tail of the line, is struck. She stands there. The reptile refuses to unhook its fangs. She drinks a whole cup of death. She gives a brief shriek, and mumbles some farewell to her loving mother. Then she drops dead. She lies there as if feigning death. Her right breasts lift up their hands and wail aloud, saying, "No mouse will suck us, our tips will not be tickled, our milk will rot in the earth." In battle, the hottest youths fight at the front, eager, angry, proud. The youths think of their loves and say, "It is the old ones who die in bed." The spears of the foe and their arrows rain like the hailstones. Your son is struck in the small of the back, and the spear cuts through the liver and the heart. Other people's boys receive bruises, others get cuts, many earn battle honors. They return home blowing their horns loud and clear, and while others celebrate and sing war songs, you sing songs of praise, farewell songs to the dead. Why should lightning seek out your husband from his bedroom? Other women's husbands are walking in the rain. What is so sweet in your husband? What's so bitter in other people's sons? Why, at the hunt, does the wounded buffalo bull charge your father, and with its blunt horn tear open his belly, throwing the intestines on top of the grass? Why should you and not somebody else be made orphan? All misfortunes have a root: the snake bite, the spear of the enemy, the lightning, and the blunt buffalo horn. These are the bitter fruits grown on the tree of fate. They do not fall anyhow. They do not fall at random. They do not come our way by accident. We do not just run into them. When your uncle curses you, you piss in your bed, and you go on pissing in your bed until you have taken him a white cock. When your mother lifts her breast and asks you, "Did you suck this?" If your father lifts his penis toward you, know that you are in deep trouble. No one wrestles with his father. No one looks down on his mother. You cannot abuse your mother, because it was that woman who blew you out of the rock and molded your head and body. Think of the excreta and piss and vomit and mucus with which you wetted your mother. Think of the fire that burnt her finger many times when she cooked for you. Think of the jealousies of others, the sorcerers and shadow trappers, poisoners and the evil eyes. Think of the fights they put up for you. You sucked those wrinkled breasts, and that's what made you the big man you are. And even if your father is totally blind, even if his ears are dead, even if the world has boxed him, even if his legs are dry like firewood, if he is rude to you, you say thank you and never answer back, because he stands before you like the giant Tito tree. You are but a climber plant. A mother's anger is bitter. It is fierce like lightning and boils like thunder. If you make her angry, she will strike below her belly button. If you annoy the girl, she will strike the ash. Then you will get exactly what you asked for. Your vitality will go. You will behave as if you were a half-wit. Your manhood will disappear, and like a castrated bullock, woman will be perfectly safe with you. And to recover, a goat must be slaughtered. Your mother and her brother must spit blessing in your hand, and then you will become a man again. There is no medicine in the hospital for a mother's curse. None for an uncle's curse, and when your father's anger has boiled over, the white man's medicines are irrelevant and useless, like the freak rains in the middle of the dry season. When a woman has brought death in a bundle with which to kill people, and death has felt the inside of the victims and found them clean, it bounces back and destroys the bringer. It refuses to be returned. It refuses all sacrifices. It says, I was not brought to eat a goat. I do not want a ram, not a bull. Death in the bundle kills the children of the bringer. Her husband, her other relatives, and then herself eats the dust. Which white man's medicine can stop the hand of death in the bundle? Which one can blunt the sharp edges of death's sword? If in a hunt the spears of the men strike tree, trunks, and earth, and they return home silent, none blowing a horn, if in the homestead young wives stay young, their breasts refuse to fall, and their tummies are forever well back, because they are hard like the Lela rocks, like the dry trunk of the poi, and the men are soft in the knees and weak in the loin. When the rains fall and famine threatens a fierce invasion, fiercer than the spear of the Lango, if the crops are moved down by Acoli, or the hailstones have rained and ruined all the millet, if the locust swarms that blacken the sky stay the night in the homestead and refuse to move the next day, when there is much trouble in the homestead, it is not for nothing. It is because the ancestors are angry, because they are hungry, thirsty, neglected. So the elders gathered at the clan shrine. Blood, meat, and beer are offered to the ancestors. Greetings are exchanged, and the living pray to the dead to cleanse the homestead. And they pray, saying, the troubles in the homestead, the setting sun, go down with them. And the people repeat, let them go down, let them go down with the setting sun. And an old woman will bless the young men. She will spit blessings in their hands, so that their spears may be sharp, sharp and hard, so that their trusted spears should not sleep outside in the dewy cold, but should strike the death spot deep and painful. Then the young cobs will scream and shed tears of sweet pains. My husband rejects me because he says that I am a mere pagan, and I believe in the devil. He says, I do not know the rules of health, and I mix up matters of health and superstitions. Ocol troubles my head. He talks too much, and he heaps insults on me, as well as my relatives. But most of his words are senseless. They are like the songs of children's plays, and he treats his clansmen as if they are enemies. Ocol behaves as if he is a witch. It is true, white men's medicines are strong, but Acoli medicines are also strong. The sick gets cured because his time has not yet come. But when the day has dawned for the journey to Pagak, no one can stop you. White man's medicines, Acoli medicines, crucifixes, rosaries, tolls of edible rats, the horns of the rhinoceros, none of them can block the path that goes to Pagak. When death comes to fetch you, she comes unannounced. She comes suddenly like the vomit of dogs, and when she comes, the wind keeps blowing. The birds go on singing, and the flowers do not hang their heads. The Agogoa bird is silent. The Agogoa bird comes afterwards. He sings to tell that death has been that way. When Mother Death comes, she whispers, come. And you stand up and follow. You get up immediately and you start walking without brushing the dust on your buttocks. You may be behind a new buffalo hide shield and at the mock fight or in battle. You may be matchless. You may be hiding in the hole of the smallest black insect, or in the darkest place where rats breastfeed their puppies, or behind the Agogor hills, the Agoro hills. You may be the fastest runner, long-distance runner, but when death comes to fetch you, you do not resist. You must not resist. You cannot resist. Mother Death, she says to her little ones, come. The little ones are good children, obedient, loyal, and when Mother Death calls, the little ones jump. They jump gladly, for she calls and offers simsim paste. Mixed with honey, she says, my only children, come, come, let us go. Let us go and eat white ants' paste mixed with shea butter. And who can resist that? White diviner priests, Acoli herbalists, all medicine men and medicine women are good, are brilliant when the day has not yet dawned for the great journey, the last safari to Pagak. 11. The buffaloes of poverty knock the people down. With the coming of the new political parties, my husband roams the countryside like a wild goat. He is up before dawn. We think he is going to hoe the new cotton field, or to sow the millet, or to harvest the simsim. All day long he is away. He does not eat at home, as if I do not cook. When he comes, he does not stay a moment. He says there is another meeting at the homestead of the whole chief. He is away all night, and when he returns so late, he says, their car got stuck in the mud. He says they are fighting for Uhuru. He says that they want independence and peace. And when they meet, they shout, Uhuru, Uhuru. But what is the meaning of Uhuru? He says they want to unite the Acoli and Lango and the Madi and the Lubara, but should live together in peace. He says the Allure and the Iteso and Baganda and the Banyankole and the Banyoro should be united together with the Jopa Dola and the Toro, and all the tribes should become one people. He says white men must return to their homes because they have brought slave conditions in the country. He says white people tell lies, that they are good at telling lies, like men wooing women, Ocol says. They reject the famine relief, granaries, and the forced labor system. I do not understand the new political parties. They dress differently. They dress in robes like the Christian diviner priests. But Ocol treats his brother as if they are not relatives. Ocol puts on a green and white robe, a large flowing robe, and he struts like a bull baboon. He blows the whistle and rings the bell, calling people to gather at the marketplace. His brother wears a red and black robe. He looks like the judge who condemns people to death. He looks like the male arrive bird and shouts like the train. He walks majestically like a bull elephant. My husband is the leader of the Democratic Party. When they greet each other, they shake their fists. Ocol does not enter his brother's house. You would think there was homicide between them that has not been settled. You would think that the Oput drinking peacemaking ceremony has not yet taken place, and they fear the deadly Jebu taboo. Ocol dislikes his brother fiercely. His mother's son's hatred resembles boiling oil. The new parties have split the homestead as the battle axe splits the skull. My husband has sternly warned me never to joke with my husband-in-law. Not that joking may cause pregnancy, not that I am a loose woman, but that the strong gum of the joke will reconnect the snapped string of brotherhood between him and his brother. Is this the unity of Uhuru? Is this the peace that independence brings? When my husband opens a quarrel with his brother, I am frightened. You would think they have not slept in the same womb. You would think they have not shared the same breasts. And they have, and they say, when the two were boys looking after the goats, they were as close to each other as the eye and the nose. They were like twins, and they shared everything, even a single white ant. Ocol says his brother is a liar and a big fool. He says there is something wrong with his brother's head. Nobody should trust such a beast. He says his brother wants to kill him. He calls his mother's son that man. He says his brother is dangerously jealous of him and has smuggled a pistol and has collected money and hired a man to bump him off. When Ocol says these things, his eyes bulge in his head like ripe papayas and threaten to fall off. He shouts, his brother will bring communism. I do not know what this animal is. He says the Congress Party will remove all Catholics from their jobs, and they will take away all the land and schools, and will take people's wives and goats and chickens and bicycles, and will become the property of the Congress people. How terrible that would be if it were true, but I know that if Ocol dies, his mother's son, whom he now hates so much, will inherit all Ocol's properties, the goats, the chickens, and the bicycles, and I will become his wife, and my children will become his children. Where will he take the land and the schools? And if they remove all Catholics from their jobs, who will do the jobs? Where will they get the people to do these jobs? When Ocol's brother replies, he sounds like the dancing drums. In the late evening, he says the Democratic Party is the party for padres, the party for fools and blockheads. He says Catholics have numb heads and hear everything from the Italian fathers. He says the Democratic Party will sell the land to poor white men, refugees who came to this country saying they have come to teach white man's religion when they have no teaching certificates. He says Ocol and the other fools allow their heads to be numbed by foolish prayers and by kneeling before white men. I have never seen a white padre in the Democratic Party at the marketplace meetings where there are many Catholics, but I have not heard an Italian shout, DP, Ahuru. Do they teach the leaders in the dead of night in the bishop's house? And if the white men are poor, where will they get the money with which to buy the land? I have seen many leaders of the DP. They come to my house and eat and drink there. Some have really numbed heads, like the heads of my husband. But others have heads like lightning, quick and powerful. Some are real men, not women dressed in dark suits. I have met many leaders of Congress. They go to Ocol's brother's house. They eat and drink there. Some have heads like the sun, bright, burning, and brilliant. Others carry pieces of stone on their necks and call them heads. Where is the peace of Uhuru? Where is the unity of independence? Must it not begin at home? And the Acoli and Lengo, and the Mahdi and the Lubara, and how can they unite? And all the tribes of Uganda, how can they become one? I do not understand the meaning of Uhuru. I do not understand why all the bitterness and the cruelty and the cowardice, the fear, the deadly fear that eats the hearts of the political leaders. Is it the money? Is it the competition for position? Someone said independence falls like a bull buffalo, and the hunters rush to it with drawn knives, sharp shining knives, for carving the carcass. And if your chest is small, bony, and weak, they push you off. And if your knife is blunt, you will get dung on your elbow. You come home empty-handed, and the dogs bark at you. If you are not a man, they frighten you with noise, but you return home, you walk like a chicken beaten like by the rain, and the women hiss at you, and your children run away from you. You are silent like a woman who has broken a taboo. And the other men carry large pieces of fatty beef. You hear their horns loud and proud, and you eat green vegetables. Without the simsim paste, and your thin children collect the odir and oshene insects, and they roast the odir and oshene and eat them, and the children of others are fat, and their wives grow larger, buttocks. They eat meat from the chests of bulls, and the skin of their legs shines with health. The stomach seems to be a powerful force for joining political parties, especially when the purse in the trouser pocket carries only the coins with holes in their middle, and no purple notes have ever been folded in it, and especially for those who have never tasted honey from childhood, and those who grew up fatherless or motherless, and those with no sure jobs, men with soft hearts, men with soft, blunt eyes who are shy to tell the biggest lies, who are afraid to repeat them in the presence of their mothers and children, to repeat empty lies before their wives and before their wives' mothers. Such soft-necked men should stay at home. And when the party leaders come from Kampala, my husband jumps. He is like a newly eloped girl. He is all over the place. He is quick to win a good name. And when he talks, he explodes like the dry pods of Goro. He's like a woman who has just buried the other woman with whom she shares a husband. He says to the bosses, "Oh, chief, you kill me with laughter." Ha ha. His shallow laugh and put up smiles drown the frowns of the chiefs. They probably think he is wonderful. My husband accuses other party leaders. Everybody else is useless. He alone is the most hardworking, the most loyal, the man with the most reliable information. All that others say is lies, lies intended only to win favors, to buy position, to buy jobs and places in conferences in Kampala and abroad. My husband says the masses of the people in villages listen only to him. He says the other party leaders have formed a new party for fools, that they are rebels and should be expelled. He says the rebels are a minority. The masses of the people are solidly behind him and the party leaders, and they talk about him at all beer parties. When my husband climbs onto the platform, you hear the bell, you hear the drums. There is a big crowd. Some people stand on hillocks. The crowd resembles the Palaro gathered to celebrate Lapul and their chiefdom Jock. My husband reads his speech from a book. He says a few words and shakes his fly whisk. The women yodel and make ululation. They yodel and make ululation, not because they understand. They yodel so that their voices may be heard, so that their secret lovers may hear them. They shout and make ululations because they are tired of the useless talk, tired of the insults and the lies of the speakers. They shout and raise their hands, not because they understand, but because they do not understand. The many foreign words, Uhuru, Congress, freedom, democratic, independence, minister. The women make ululations because they are irritated, because they are excited, because they want to dance. They want to talk. They want the talks to end so that they can dance. And when he is in the marketplace, he talks endlessly, like a bird's mother-in-law. His words are itchy like scabies on the buttocks. He talks endlessly, and some of the things he says are painful and hurtful, like an unripe boil. He shouts and loses his voice. He says we must all unite and fight for independence and peace. He says they will fight with diseases, poverty, and ignorance. They want peace and friendship. They fight black-heartedness and quarrels. And if you are ignorant of the death of the homestead, of my husband, the death of the homestead caused by the parties, you would think my husband was the best leader. And while those inside eat thick honey and ghee and butter, those in the countryside died with the smell. They re-eat the bones that were thrown away for the dogs. And those who have fallen into things throw themselves into soft beds. But the hip bones of the voters grow painful, sleeping on the same earth they slept before Uhuru, and they covered the ulcers on their legs with animal skins. And when they have fallen into things, they become rare, like the python with a bullwater buck in its tummy. They hibernate and stay away and eat. They return to the countryside for the next elections, like the kite that returns during the dry season. When the kites have returned, the dry season has come. The Democratic Party, how does it differ from the Congress? Ocol says they want uhuru. His brother says they want uhuru and peace. Both of them say they fight ignorance and disease. Then why do they not join hands? Why do they split up the army into two hostile groups? The spears of the young men and their shields, why are the weapons and the men and the women dispersed so uselessly? And while the pythons of sickness swallow the children and the buffaloes of poverty knock the people down, and ignorance stands there like an elephant, the war leaders are tightly locked in bloody feuds, eating each other's liver as if the DP was leprosy, and the Congress yaws. If only the parties would fight poverty with the fury with which they fight each other. If diseases and ignorance were assaulted with the deadly vengeance with which Acoli assaults his mother's son, the enemies would have been greatly reduced by now. I'm concerned about the well-being of our homestead. The women there wear mourning clothes. The homestead is surely dead. The enmity, the black-heartedness, the quarrels, the jealousies. When the fiends that sow smallpox go through our homestead, that people will be finished because the insides of the people are bad. This will be the gift that the political parties have brought. 12. My husband's house is a dark forest of books. Listen, my clansmen, I cry over my husband, whose head is lost. Ocol has lost his head in the forest of books. When my husband was still wooing me, his eyes were still alive, his ears were still unblocked. Ocol had not yet become a fool. My friend was a man then. He had not yet become a woman. He was still a free man. His heart was still his chief. My husband was still a black man, the son of the bull, the son of Agik. The woman from Ocol was still a man, and Acholi. My husband has read much. He has read extensively and deeply. He was read among white men, and he is clever like white men, and the reading has killed my man. In the ways of his people, he has become a stump. He abuses all things Acoli. He says the ways of black people are black because his eyeballs have exploded, and he wears dark sunglasses. My husband's house is a dark forest of books. Some stand there, tall and huge, like the Tito tree. Some are old, their barks are peeling off, and they smell strongly. Some are thin and soft. The backs of some books are hard, like the rocky stem of the poi tree. Some are green, others are red as blood. Some books are black and oily. Their backs shine like the dangerous ororo snake coiled on top of a tree. Some have pictures on their backs, dead faces of witch-looking men and women, unshaven, bold, fat stomach, bony cheek, angry, revengeful-looking people, pictures of men and women who died long ago. The papers on my husband's desk coil threateningly, like the giant forest climbers, like the ketuba tree that squeezes other trees to death. Some stand up, others lie on their backs. They are interlocked like the legs of youths at the orat dance, like the legs of the planks of the go fence. They are tightly interlocked like the legs of the giant forest climbers in the impenetrable forest. In the impenetrable forest, my husband's house is a mighty forest of books. Dark it is and very damp. The steam rising from the ground, hot, thick, and poisonous, mingles with corrosive dew. and the raindrops that have collected in the leaves. They choke you if you stay there long. They ruin your nose and your tongue so that you can no longer enjoy the fresh smell of sim oil or taste of the malak klang. And the boiling darkness bursts your eyeballs, and the sticky juices that drop from the gum trees block the holes of your ears. And when 10 girls standing on the hillock in the moonlight sing the oyele songs, throwing stones of abuse at the rough-skinned, ugly old men chosen for them as husbands by their money-loving fathers, or when your daughter sings a lovely lullaby to her baby brother strapped on her back, and she sways forwards and backwards, and she sings, "Oh baby, why do you cry? Are you ill? Oh baby, stop crying. Your mother has fried the olu birds in ghee." When the girls sing cycle songs and your nurse sings her lullaby, you hear only noises that disturb you like a brick thrown on top of the iron roof. If you stay in my husband's house long enough, the ghosts of dead men that people in this dark forest, the ghosts of many white men and white women that scream whenever you touch any book, the deadly vengeance ghosts of writers will capture your head, and like my husband, you will become a walking corpse. My husband's ears are numb. He hears the crackling sounds of the gums within the holes of his ears and thinks this is the music of his people. He cannot hear the insults of foreigners who say the songs of black men are rubbish. Listen, my husband, hear my cry. You may not know this. You may not feel so, but you behave like a dog of the white man. A good dog pleases its master. It barks at night and hunts in the salt lick. It chases away wild cats that come to steal the chicken, and when the master calls, it folds its tail between the legs. The dogs of white men are well trained. They understand English. When the master is eating, they lie by the door and keep guard while waiting for leftovers. But oh, Acoli, Ocol, you are my master and my husband. You are the father of these children. You are my man. You are a man. You are you. Do you not feel ashamed behaving like another man's dog before your own wife and children? My husband Ocol, you are a prince of an ancient chiefdom. Look, there in the middle of the homestead stands your grandfather's shrine. Your grandfather was a bull among men, and although he died long ago, his name still blows like a horn. His name is still heard throughout the land. When he died, your father proudly built him that shrine. A true son of his father, he carried out all the duties of a firstborn son. He himself was a chief, well beloved by his people at the Otole dance. He was right in the middle, completely surrounded by his hosts, like the termite queen mother, but you could spot him by his huge headgear, waving like a field of flowering sugarcane. In battle, he fought at the front, fierce like a wounded buffalo girl. When his men struck the enemy, the heaven shook from its base. Has the fire produced ash? Has the bowl died without a head? Ah, a certain man has no millet filled. He lives on borrowed foods. He borrows the clothes he wears and the ideas in his head, and the actions and behavior are to please somebody else, like a woman trying to please her husband. My husband has become a woman. Then, why do you wear a shirt? Why do you not tie a sheet around your waist, as other women do, but put on the string skirt and some beads on your loins? Oh, my clansmen, let us all cry together. Come, let us mourn the death of my husband, the death of a prince, the ash that was produced by a great fire. Oh, this homestead is utterly dead. Close the gates with lakari thorns. For the prince, the heir to the stool, is lost, and all the young men have perished in the wilderness, and the fame of this homestead that once blazed like a fire like a wildfire in a moonless night is now, like the last breaths of a dying old man. There is not one single true son left. The entire village has fallen into the hands of war captives and slaves. Perhaps one of our boys escaped with his life. Perhaps he is hiding in the bush, waiting for the sun to set. But will he come before the next morning? Will he arrive in time? Bile burns my insides. I feel like vomiting. For all our young men were finished in the forest, their manhood was finished in the classrooms, their testicles were smashed with large books. 13. Let them prepare the malakwang dish. But Ocol, my husband, if you are not yet utterly dead and fit only for the stomach of the earth, if your heartstring is not yet completely cut, if your ghost has not yet escaped and got completely lost, if some blood is still floating, however faintly, take courage, take a small amount of millet porridge. Let them prop you up, drink some fish soup. Slowly, you will recover. Chew the roots of omwombai. It is very bitter, but it will clear your throat. Let them prepare the malakwang dish. Eat the roots of the lurono, and the roots of your tongue will be loosened. When they have prepared lukut, eat it. It will strengthen your knee. Let them drop simsim oil into the holes of your ears. Let them scoop out the gum that has filled your ears for so long. The thick dust you collected from the altar, and the chaff from the books, and the useless things from the magazines and newspapers and the radio and television. Here is some water. It is lukewarm. It will not burn you. Let me pour it for you so that you may wash your face. But first, remove those dark glasses. Throw them away. Then remove the scales that have formed on your eyes during daylight when you closed your eyes in prayer. Bring the ripe seeds of labika and scratch Ocol's eyeballs and remove the blood that has clotted there. Put the rhino horn powder in his eyes. Let it stab away the pus that blocks his eyes. The blindness that you got in the library will be removed by the diviner. The swelling that has blocked your throat will be treated with the shoots of la pena. Chew the shoots of la pena and olim. Put some salt in the shoots and swallow the bitter green juice. You must vomit the shyness you ate in the church. Drink raw eggs mixed in millet flour. And if this does not make you feel sick, put one finger deep down your throat. Clean your teeth with sand. I will prepare the sand for you, white like sand, vomited by the frog. Brush your tongue so thickly coated with bitter insults. Here is warm water. There is some salt in it. Gargle it. Clean your mouth. Spit out the insults with the water. The abuses you learnt from your white masters and the stupid stubbornness, spit them down with water. And son of the bull, when you are completely cured, when you have gained your full strength, go to the shrine of your fathers, prepare a feast, give blood to your ancestors, give them beer, meat, millet bread. Let the elders spit blessings on you. Let them intercede for you and pray to the ancestors who sleep in their tombs faced upwards. Beg forgiveness from them and ask them to forgive you a new spear with a sharpened hard point, a spear that will crack the rock. Ask for a spear that you will trust, one that does not bend easily like the earthworm. Ask them to restore your manhood, for I am sick of sharing a bed with a woman. Ask them to forgive your past stupidity. Pray that the setting sun may take away your shyness, deceit, childish pride, and sharp tongue. For when you insulted me, saying I was a mere village girl, you were insulting your grandfathers and grandmothers, your grandfather, your father, your mother, and when you compared me with the silly oju insects that sit on the beer pot, you were abusing your entire people. You were saying the customs of your people are like the useless things left in the old homestead. When you took the axe and threatened to cut the otango that grows on the ancestral shrine, you were threatening to cut yourself loose, to be tossed by the winds, this way and that way, like the dead dry leaves of the olam tree in the dry season. When you have recovered properly, go to your old mother and ask forgiveness from her. Let her spit blessings in your hands and rub saliva on your chest and your forehead. And I, as your first wife, mother of your firstborn, mother of your son and daughter, I have only one request. I do not ask for money, although I have need of it. I do not ask for meat. I can live on green vegetables for a while yet. Buy clothes for the woman with whom I share you. Buy beads for her and perfume, and shoes and necklaces and earrings. When you have gained your full strength, I have only one request, and all I ask is that you remove the roadblock from my path. Here is my bow harp. Let me sing greetings to you. Let me play for you one song only. Let me play and sing the song of my youth. She has taken the road to Nimule. She will come back tomorrow. His eyes are fixed on the road, saying, "Bring Naleka to me that I may see her." The daughter of the bull has stayed away too long. His eyes are fixed on the road. All I ask is that you give me one chance. Let me praise you, son of the chief. Tie ankle bells on my legs. Bring la kukukua rattles and tie them on my legs. Call the nanga players and let them play and let them sing. Let me dance before you, my love. Let me show you the wealth in your house. Ocol, my husband, son of the bull. Let no one uproot the pumpkin. Song of Ocol 1. Woman, shut up. Pack your things, go. Take all your clothes. I brought you the beads, necklaces, and the remains of the utensils. I need no second-hand things. There is a large sack in the boot of the car. Take it, put all your things in it, and go. Song of the woman is the confused noise made by the ram after the butcher's knife has sunk past the windpipe, red paint spraying on the grasses. It is a song all alone, a solo fragment with no chorus, no accompaniment, a strange melody, impossible to orchestrate, as if an echo of woman's wailing at yesterday's funeral, song of the dead out of an old tune, stealthily cracking of dry bones falling in of skulls under the weight of earth. It is the dull thud of the wooden arrow as it strikes the concrete of a wall and falls to earth, extinguished without life, like a bird hit by a stone from a boy's catapult. Have you heard the sigh of a monarch in exile? He squats on a log in the shadow of a disused hut. It is cold. The keen wind knives through his torn trousers, licking his bruised knee with rough phenile tongue. Yesternight, the smallest toe on the left foot slowly weeps blood. A fat housefly drones away. Under the armpit it is sticky. The remains of a shirt sticks to his back. Yesternight, the hot bath, the thick purple carpet, the red slippers. His dry lips taste salty. A ball of thirst is climbing up his throat. He is forcing down some saliva. Yesternight, the waiter on his knees, the woman whispering, "My lord, my husband," the red wine, the soft lights, woman smile, inviting man to bed, the hot lips of her young sister, firm breasts, the embrace. He looks at his hands, at the small black fingernails, cold, sweat. He is choking. He keeps asking himself, but why? Why? Song of the woman is the mad bragging of a defeated general, 10,000 men, dead, dying, the others scattered. It is the pointless defiance of the condemned. He is blindfolded, the rough hand of the noose round his neck. Woman, your song is rotting buffalo left behind, fleeting poachers. Its nose, it's blocked. With houseflies sucking bloody mucus, the eyes, two lumps of green flies, feasting on crusts of salty tears, maggots wallowing in the pus and the spear wounds. Skinny neck, bald-headed vultures hover above, while aged, stiff-jointed lions and limping hip hyenas snarl over bones. Song of the woman is sour sweet. It is pork gone rancid. It is honey-eyed, bloodied, sour milk in the stinking Maasai gourd. I see an old homestead in the valley below, huts, granaries, all in ruins. I see a large pumpkin rotting, 1,000 beetles in it. We will plow up all the valley, make compost of the pumpkins and the other native vegetables. The fence dividing the family holdings will be torn down. We will uproot the trees demarcating the land of clan from clan. We will obliterate tribal boundaries and throttle native tongues to dumb death. Houseboy, listen, call the ayah. Help the woman pack her things, then sweep the house clean and wash the floor. I am off to town to fetch the painter. 2. What is Africa to me? Blackness, deep, deep fathomless darkness. Africa idle giant, basking in the sun, sleeping, snoring, twitching in dreams, diseased with chronic illness, choking in black ignorance, chained to the rock of poverty, and yet laughing, always laughing and dancing, the chains of his legs jangling, displaying his white teeth and bright pink gum, loose white teeth that cannot bite, joking, giggling, dancing, stuck in the stagnant mud of superstitions, frightened by the spirits of the bush, the stream, the rock, the scared of corpses. He hears eerie noises from the lakeside and from the mountaintop, sees snakes in the whirlwind, and at both ends of the rainbow, the caves house his gods, or he carries them on his head or on his shoulder as he roams the wilderness, led by his cattle, or following the spoor of the elephant that he has speared but could not kill. Child, lover of toys, look at his toy weapons, his utensils, his hut, toy garden, toy chickens, toy cattle, toy children, timid, unadventurous, scared of the unbeaten track, unweaned, clinging to mother's milkless breast, clinging to brother, to uncle, to clan, to tribe, to blackness, to Africa. Africa, this rich granary of taboos, customs, traditions. Mother, mother, why was I born black? 3. To hell with your pumpkins and your old homesteads. To hell with the husks of old traditions and meaningless customs. We will smash the taboos one by one, explode the basis of every superstition. We will uproot every sacred tree and demolish every ancestral shrine. We will not just breach the wall of your mud hut to let in the air. Do you think we plan merely to bring light into the hut? We will set it ablaze, let fire consume it all, this lyre of backwardness. We will uproot granaries, break up the cooking pots and water pots. We'll grind the grinding stones to powder, that obsolete toy with which you scratch the soil, and other rusty toys in the hut. The dried fish riddled with cockroaches, the piece of carcass hung above the cooking place. Black roof soup will make a big heap of all the rubbish from the hut and set the heap aflame. Look at that woman shaking the rattled gourd and talking to herself. Mad creature, her hair a burnt-out forest, her eyes a pair of rockets shooting out from her head, serpent tongue, spitting poisons, lashing crocodile tail. Do you see the fools sitting around her? Terror-infested faces, closed eyes, gummed with tears, lips cracked, bleeding, throats parched, deserts of drought. That child lying on the earth, numb, bombs exploding in his head, blood boiling, heavy with malarial parasites raging through his veins. The mad woman spits on the palms of his hands and on his feet, squirts beer on his face to cool him, spills chicken blood on his chest to give to death. The child's mother smiles, the diviner pleads with dread malaria. I give you blood. Let this child live. Here's your beer. Take your beer. Leave us the child. Take your food. We will round up all these priests and priestesses of darkness, all the rainmakers and herbalists, the men and women who sacrifice at chiefdom or clan shrines. We will arrest all the witches, wizards, evil eyes, sellers of fetish bundles, bones and claws, dealers in poisons extracted from plants and venoms from snakes. We will put all these pillars of fear in a lake steamer, take them to the deepest part, and cast them into the void. We will arrest all the village poets, musicians, and tribal dancers, put in detention folk storytellers and myth makers, the sustainers of village morality. We'll disband the nest of court historians, glorifiers of the past. We will ban the stupid village anthem of backwards never, forwards never, something like that. Backwards ever, forwards never, to the gallows with all the professors of anthropology and teachers of African history. A bonfire will make of their works, will destroy all the anthologies of African literature, and close down all the schools of African studies. Where is Amos Hazar? Where is Leopold Senghor? Arrest Jahines Khan, father of Plakai temples. Put in detention all the preachers of negritude. The balloon of African personality exploded long ago. Du Bois is dead. We will erect no memorial for him. Why should I care who built the citadel of Zimbabwe? Of what relevance is it whether black men architected the pyramid? Smash all these mirrors that I may not see the blackness of the past from which I came reflected in them. Noises come from within a dark hut. A foul smell seeps of crude waragi, a stale quete beer. Chickens are fighting over fresh dung of children. It is Adot too, the blind poet from Namongi, playing the nananga and singing praises to a newly-wed bride. Footsteps of men and women are stamping the earth, puffs of dust mingled with smoke, smell of burnt meat. A woman makes ululations and a man blows a long wooden horn. It sounds like a sneezing hippo. A dog, too, sings softly. 10 stacks of newly split firewood leaning against the old tree in the middle of the homestead. 5 stacks of grass for starting fire. 5 stacks of grass for thatching a new hut. The hut of the newlywed. Do you know the slave who split the firewood? Show me the tractor they use for cutting the grass, and the cart that brought the firewood and the grass home. I see a young woman returning home from the well, balancing a large pot on her head, some water spilling her face, slimes wet, beads of water on her bare breasts, long yellow and red beams from the setting sun darting over her youthful breasts like dragonflies. Her naked feet digging the pathway, nibbling away the earth. Her soles are thick, cracked like the earth in the dry season. The skin of her hands are rough like concrete wall. There are stones embedded in the skin. Her palms are worn out like soles of old shoes. The blind poet's voice is piercing the thatch. The arrow of his song strikes the woman like lightning. O daughter of the bull, wild lily of the hills, you are fit for son of chief. Oh, my brother, a dream deceived me. What an envious dream. When I woke, I was wet. Sister, woman of Acoli land, throw down that pot with its water. Let it break into pieces. Let the water cool the thirsty earth. It is taboo to throw down water pots with water in them, but taboos must be broken. Taboos are chains around the neck, chains of slavery. Shatter that pot, shatter taboos, customs, traditions. Listen not to the song of the poet the blind musician plays for his beard and bread. The bread owners are your slaves. Listen not to praises. They are spurs for the tired horses, blinkers for donkeys. You women from Kikuyu land, let that burden slide, fall from your back. You are no mere donkey cart. Cut that Kua cord, cut an alley in your head, burn that Kyondo sats that bow you down, to see only my dusty boots. Lift up your head, walk erect, my love. Let me see your beautiful eyes, let me caress your sultry neck, let me kiss your dimples. Shut up, you bush poet from Kiambu, and you Neyeri. Cease insulting my wife with your stupid song, my girl is not a camel. Listen, my sister from Acoli, and you from Uganda and Burundi. Here's a hammer, smash those pots of rotten milk, burst open the door, come forth into daylight. Beat up that old woman who pumps you full of milk. Are you a caterpillar for wasps to lay their eggs in? Who told you that your fertility will be enhanced by excessive fatness? Who says you are beautiful when you cannot even walk? You stagger into the sunlight, melting, dripping wet, a pregnant hippo, soft, flabby, weak, bursting buttocks. Your breasts are two drums. Can you see your belly button? I hear the lowing cattle, a forest of long white horns approaching home. I hear the wild song of a herdsman. He is singing praises to your ugliness. Woman of Africa, sweeper, smearer floors and walls with cow dung and black soil. Cook, ayah, the baby tied on your back. Vomiting, washer of dishes, planting, weeding, harvesting, storekeeper, builder, runner of errands, cart, lorry, donkey, woman of Africa, what are you not? In boy boy, your face is covered in black cloth, like a bat's leather wing. Harem, private collection of tasty flesh. Do you hear the bell of your leading cow? The dust you see is not caused by a hurricane. It's the herds of Jolango. We will destroy all these Shenzai cattle, the root of their savagery, the cause of their misery and death. I see you, husband. He's had a little drink, his mouth drooling. Asha before lunch. Kaosiku after dinner. Young Akelo after midnight. In Buganda, they buy you with 2 pots of beer. The Lu will trade you for 7 cows. And what is that Madi Ho the Acoli men give your father? He cannot even use it for digging. They purchase you on hire, purchase even like bicycles. You are furniture, mattress for men, your arm, a pillow for his head. Women of Africa, whatever you call yourself, whatever the bush poets call you, you are not wife. 5. You Karamojong elder, etched with scars of spear, you young raiders skimming across the plains, ostrich feathers dancing on your heads, blown back like papyrus tufts. By the Nile, I see blood on the shafts of your spears. You Maasai warrior, honing your spear and polishing it with glee. You naked G, studying the sick cow. You Tukana, scout perched on the termite mound. I Jakai from Toposa, Dodo's general, presiding over the war council. You Suk youth, I hear you singing praises to your black ox, your hands raised in imitation of its horns. You men on Nandi hills, tending cattle in the rocky pastures, always suspecting an impeding raid. You Pakat hordes, driving home the stolen cattle. Kipsigi's men, I see colorful shields surrounding a thick bush in which I see a lion's tough tail. You proud Kalenjin, chiefless, free, each man the chief of his hut. When your spears appeared on the horizon beyond the Baal el Ghazal, the Nilotes scattered like flying debris from a bombed house. The Luo ran 1,000 miles. We were stopped by the big lake. Had you given chase, they might have perished in the water like the Egyptians in the Red Sea. When you swept southwards toward the Rift Valley, other men fled like antelopes chased by the leopard, like grasshoppers escaping from a wild flyer. You taught Kikuyas circumcision, spread the chiefless democracy of the age-set system. Kalenjin Ujolango, spirited, haunted, survey your booty, study your empire, your games. A large arc of semi-desert land strewn with human skeletons, barely covered by the hostile thorn bushes and the flowering cactus, a monument to 500 years of cattle theft, wallowing in the mud of poverty and ignorance. You recited poems about the beauty of your beasts, sang songs about the might of your spears and your thieving exploits. Believing you were the riches of the earth, drunk with illusion of real power, you continue to jump and down, up and down, as you dance, firmly holding to the spear, the symbol of your backwardness. You barren empire, remain closed to progress, a vast natural animal reserve, in which wild men and wild beasts roam, students of primitive man, of big game hunters, and tourists flock in. From all corners of the world, white men came to discover, to see with their naked eyes what manhood could be. You mountain-dwelling Sebai, do you hear me? You Kumam, digging lungfish from marshes. You Etso, fighting at the beer party. You Latuko, listen, we will not simply put the Masai in trousers to end 25,000 years of human nakedness. Dynamiting the okra quarries is only starting gun. We will arrest all the elders, the tutors of the young, during circumcisions. The gathering of youths in the wilderness for initiations will be banned. The council of elders will be abolished. The war dance, the blowing of war horns will be punished with 12 strokes of cane for each blast. All the men with Moy names and those with killer marks on their backs and on their arms will be hanged for murder. You will be disarmed, if need be, by force. All your spears and colorful shields, all your bows and poison arrows will be destroyed. Not one will be left, even for the museums. Spear makers and blacksmiths will be jailed. What a colorful heap we'll make of ostrich feathers, and all the others in all the other headgears will reduce the heap to ashes. We will rip off the smelly goatskin skirts from the woman and burn them, cut all the giraffe hair necklaces and elephant hair bangles, break the ivy amulets cutting deep in the flesh of the upper arms, remove all the chains, earrings, nose rings, lip stops. Each head will be shaved. Spearing black billy goats in the dry riverbed, sacrifices to cool the blood of the murdered man. All superstitious activities will be stamped out. They will not be allowed even on the stage. Tell me, you young man from Thailand, they call you Moran. I see your brother's spear planted at the door of your hut. You know he is inside sleeping with your wife. Would you let a man borrow your wife, yet kill him for taking your shuka? We shall burn down the mayatas, destroy each one of them, together with all stupid customs that are observed in them. Ijakite, come brother, you are tall and athletic. You are handsome, walk into your city. With your head up, do you see the eyes of the girls glued on you here? You do not have to kill a man or a lion first. Take that girl, she wants you. You, sister from Pagak, who grew in the open air, you are fresh. Come walk with me in the garden, in the city garden. Hold my hand, my woman. Here's a rosebud. Keep it, guard it, do not lose it. Do you hear? 6. Do I hear you whisper, who is that man? What is his name? Do you not know me and my brothers in power? All the time I was reading Khan at Makerere, and my friend, the resident magistrate, was sweating and cramming for the bar. You were busy performing the get-stuck dance, spending weeks at funeral parties or in the bush chasing wild animals or collecting wild honey, thoughtless and carefree, like children dancing around the hut. After a meal, we spent years in detention, suffering without bitterness, and planning for the revolution. Tell me, my friend and comrade, answer me simply and frankly, apart from the 2 shillings fee for party membership and the dances you performed when the party chiefs visited your village, and the slogans you shouted that You did not understand. What was your contribution in the struggle for Uhuru? Comrade, do you not agree that without your present leaders, Uhuru could not have come? And surely you are not so mean as to grudge them some token reward, are you? I have a nice house in the town. My spacious garden explodes with jacaranda and roses. I have lily and ganvelia, veia, canna. Do you appreciate the beauty of my roses, or would you rather turn my flower garden into a mais shamba? What did you reap when Uhuru ripened and was harvested? Is it my fault that you sleep in a hut with a leaking thatch? Do you blame me because your sickly children sleep on the earth, sharing the filthy floor with sheep and goats? Who says I am responsible for the poverty of the peasantry? I am the cause of unemployment and landlessness. Did you ever hear me touring the countryside recruiting people's daughters into prostitution? How did I make men endure it? Was it not I who asked the minister to build a school in your village? And did I prevent children from other villages from going to school? I have other properties in the town, but come, beat the dust off your feet and jump into my merce. Let me take you for a ride and show you around my farm. When the tractor first snorted on these hunting grounds, the natives scuttled into the earth, like squirrels, like edible rats, pursued by the hunter's dog. Behold, Africa's wildest bush is now a garden, green, with wheat, barley, coffee. Look at that prize bull, black, hornless, and without a hump. Don't touch the udder of my cow with your unsterilized hands. Don't touch the milking utensils. Do you see that golden carpet covering the hillside? Those are my sheep, wool, mutton. Oh, how refreshing it is to watch the plants germinate, grow, flower, and ripen, and the young, healthy animals playing. I come to my farm every weekend. It is wonderful to get out of town into the fresh air of the country. I enjoy the smell of the earth. The aroma of the coffee blossoms intoxicates me. Tell me, my friend and comrade, do you remember the night of Uhuru when the celebration drums throbbed and men and women wept with joy as they danced, hands raised in salute to the national flag? Did someone tell you that on the morning of Uhuru, the dew on the grass along the village pathways would turn into gold, to be collected by the women going to the well to fetch water, or by the early morning hunters laying traps for the dukas and the water hose, and the leaves of the olam tree that fell off at the start of the droughts? Did you dream that leaves would become banknotes and be scattered by the wind among the villagers? We have property and wealth. We are in power. Trespassers must be jailed for life. Thieves and robbers must be hanged. Disloyal elements must be detained without trial. Have lions begun to eat grass, to die and lie with lambs, and to play games with antelopes? Can a leopardess suck a piglet? 7. What do you mutter there, idiot? I hear you whimper like a sick puppy, your penis shriveled up with fear. Listen to the beggar's song, the song of a cripple at sunset. We sowed, we watered acres of cynicism, planted forests of laughter, bitter laughter, corrosive venom. Men shed tears as they rocked, held their sides, laughed. Floods of tears turned red. We manured the land, frustration sprouted, bursting the soil like a young banana tree. Fat frustrations flourished fast, yielding fruits green as gall. On the hillsides we planted fear. Its blood-red blossoms covered the hills like February fires. Prickly leaves, hard and yellow, pricked men's skin, causing festering wounds. In the valley a streamlet trickled, its water sluggish, slimy beside the streamlet. The lamb, Uhuru, dead as stone, the shimmering flies giving false life to its open eyes. The herdsboy sat on the bank above, threw small stones, hit the carcass, the flies arose. Like white ants, the boys saw, eyes smarting with pepper. Two men stood on the other side, roared like thunder. Pails of laughter, dipped in poison, pierced the boy like daggers of steel. Blood gushed from his heart, anointing the land. We reaped cynicism, stored it in a concrete granary, wider, deeper than frenzy. We distilled anger from the laughter, 10,000 tons of venom stored in a tank. Underground acrid steam arose like lazy smoke. Trees and grasses died, and a smoldering mound we made of frustrations and fears higher than Keringyaiga. Keringyaiga. Its fiery lips lit the clouds, heaven wept. A hunter sat in the shadow of a rock, rubbed two sticks, a flash. Thunder roared, flames purified the land. Out of my way, you cowardly fool. Creep back and hide in your mother's womb. Vex me no more with your hollow wailings and crocodile tears over Uhuru. You pygmy men, skinning the elephant with rusty knives. I see your children happy dancing, swinging from branch to branch like naked, hairless, blackless apes. You dwarf rubbing two sticks to make fire, which is the plant from which you extract poison for the arrows. You mukopi carrying water for your landlord's wife. You squatter, what is a hoodoo to you? You Indian, the koala, coughing spittle onto the floor, your citizenship card nailed on the wall. You prostitute sowing syphilis in the nightclubs, you unemployed, you loyal Muganda, dressed in white kanzu. I see you kneeling before another man, trailing your kanzu in the mud like a priest, but serving an altar of man, not God. You man from Banyoro and you from Toro. What's wrong with your knees that you lie on your bellies eating dust? Are you earthworms? When the naked Luo, through trickery, established their rule over you and stole your cattle, your women, your land, and made you serfs for 500 years, you continue to show your loyalties by performing acts of servitude. What is a huru to you, you Bairu, from Acoli, you slaves in Rwanda and Burundi? I see you holding a beer pot, while your lofty master sucks the beer through the sucking tube. Let that pot fall, beer and all, shatter and splash over the chief's head. We will uproot each tree from Ituri forest and blow up Mount Kilimanjaro. The rubble from Ruwenzori will fill the valleys of the Rift. We will divert the mighty waters of the Nile into the Indian Ocean. 8. Women, I see cups of tears streaming down your cheeks, your body shaking with anger and despair, like a mother sitting by her dead son. Let them raise the alarm, sound the war drums, and blow the war horns. Let the women make ululations, call all the tribesmen and all the tribeswomen. Let them gather together for the last time. Let them put ash on their heads and on their bodies. Let the women cry aloud and beat their chests with stones. Let them throw themselves on the ground and roll in the dust and tear the hair in mourning. Let the men polish their weapons and arm themselves with spears, shields, bows, arrows, and battle axes. Let them wear ostrich feathers on their heads and swishes on their arms. Let them blow their horns and their wooden trumpets. Let the youths perform the mock fight, and the women shout the praise names of their men and of their clans and of the clans of their husbands. Let the drummers play the rhythms of the funeral dance, and let the people sing and dance and celebrate the passing of the old homestead. Weep long, for the village world that you know and love so well is gone, swept away by the fierce fires of progress and civilization. That walk to the well before sunrise, the cool bath in the stream, the gathering of the family around the evening fire, that shady evergreen bayou, tree under which I first met you and told you I wanted you. Do you remember the song of the Ogilo bird and the chorus of the gray monkeys in the trees nearby? Let the people drink Quete beer and Orangi. Let them suck the Koi beer with the sucking tubes as they mourn the death of the old homestead. Your village chief sitting on the stool and leaning on the central pole of your hut mount the rostrum at the drum post. Yet the people draw near and keep silence. Deliver your farewell speech, farewell to your friends and your age mates, to your sons and daughters, and to your grandchildren. Let them bid farewell to you and to each other, for tomorrow morning as the cock crows for the first time, the people will disperse, each following his or her own route, pilgrims to the new city. And once they depart, they will never meet again. Say goodbye, for you will never hunt together again, nor dance the war dance or the bola dance. Bid farewell to your ancestral spirits fleeing from the demolished homestead with their backs to you. They can no longer hear your prayers. Waste no more chicken or goat or sheep as sacrifices to them. They are gone with the wind, blown away with the smoke of the burnt homestead. Stop crying, you woman. Do you think those tears can quench the flames of civilization? Wash your face with cold water. Here's soap and towel. Take some aspirin, it'll clear your headache. I see the great gate of the city flung open. I see men and women walking in, and what are you doing there under the tree? Why don't you walk in with the others? Are you feeling homesick for the deserted homestead? Or are you frightened of the new city? You have only two alternatives, my sister. Either you come in through the city gate or take the rope and hang yourself. 9. Your Excellency, Wana, President, I salute you and your honorable ministers discussing the white paper. Minister, Speaker, sir, you backbenchers and opposition chiefs, greetings to you. I rise for your lordship, robed, bespectacled. I see the learned attorney addressing the jury and his brother advocate consulting a volume of the law reports. A House of Lords, judgment, amen. The black bishop as the altar is blessing the people in Latin. Do you see the golden crown and scarlet robe? Tell me, you worshipful mayors, aldermen, councilors, you town clerks in wigs, you trade union leader organizing the strike, you fat black capitalist in the dark suit, you sipping the scotch, banker, bank manager, computerizing overdrafts, you surgeons and physicians at Mulago and Kenyatta, hospitals, surveyors, architects, engineers, accountants, broadcasters, you artists, novelists, dramatists, poets, military men and you police chiefs. I see you studying the situation and plotting the next move. You permanent secretary composing the minister's speech. You party leader standing on top of the Land Rover addressing the market crowd. You African ambassador at the United Nations. You Excellency, speak. Tell the world in English or in French. Talk about the African foundation on which we are building new nations of Africa. You scholar seeking after truth. I see the top of your bald head between mountains of books, gleaming with sweat. Can you explain the African philosophy on which we are reconstructing our new societies? I hear a faint flute playing in the moonlight. It is Leopold Senghor's tune of African socialism. Do you hear that distant drum? Is that not Mwalimu? Mwalimu. Walimu. Is that not Mwalimu? Nyeres. Ujamai. The Osagefo is silent. The anthem of United Africa is drowned by the sound of guns. Tell me, you student of communism and you professor of history, did the Senegalese blood flow in the veins of Karl Marx and Lenin? Was he born in Arusha? We shall build a new city on the hill, overlooking the lake, concrete, steel, stone. The termite queen mother will starve to death. Broad avenues, spacious gardens, parks, swimming pools. We will erect monuments to the founders of modern Africa, Leopold II of Belgium, Bismarck. Streets will be named after the great discoverers, David Livingstone, Henry Stanley Speke. We will not forget Carl Peters, Hannington Park, to commemorate the bishop murdered by Mwanga's men. If we can trace them, we'll hang them for the crime. You, young soldier guarding the water post, do you know when that sacred boundary was drawn? Which of your ancestors established that area of your beloved country? No street will be named after Mansa Suleiman of ancient Mali. He is as irrelevant as the Greek goddess Artemis. The Greek goddess Artemis. A miserly king. He passed nothing on to us. Muhammad Askia, great monarch of Songhai. What a hollow-sounding name. The Nilotic chiefs, Labongo and Kipia, were famous for their quarrels over a spear and for splitting open a baby's belly to retrieve a bead. Let the kings of Ghana rot in the earth. We'll forget the rulers of Monomotapa. As for Shaka, the Zulu general, how can we praise him when he was utterly defeated and killed by his own brothers? What proud poem can we write for the vanquished? Song of Lawino by Okot Bitek, read by Richard Thompson, aka Eyon Dreams. A couple of things I mispronounced, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.